Welcome to the first show of Wrestling on the Rocks, where every episode is episode 1. And today, I'm at Ref Marsh. We do have a special guest with us today, pro wrestler and host of the Tristen Law show, Tristen Law. Go ahead and say hi, buddy.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me tonight, Marsh. Or this afternoon, because in Europe, where you are, it's the afternoon. But I want to say here for me in New York, hey, thanks for having me here tonight, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you and discussing pro wrestling with all your listeners.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. What are the odds you made it to the first show?
Hey, you know what? Congratulations. If you're not first, you're last. So I'm glad I'm not at the last show. So yeah, I'm glad.
The point.
Yeah.
You always have that on your marquee. You were a guest on the first show, episode 1.
Golly, I don't know what to do. I do it myself. First show? Man, if I knew this was the first show ever, I probably would have wore a tie or something. Marsh, you didn't probably.
We've been having our first show for a year and a half.
Oh. But it's still the first show. It doesn't matter. Don't
Still
poop on your.
1.
Yeah, it's episode 1. I'm glad to be here. It's like episode 0000001, but I'm here. That's all that matters. Hey, everybody, what's going on?
This episode could be submitted to a film festival as a pilot.
Because the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm down. Which film festival? Toronto Film Festival?
Toronto. We found out Sundance is in Utah. I don't know how we just sorted that out, but we did.
Is Utah close to Arizona? I don't have a map in front of me.
It's real close to Arizona. It's 11 hours.
Oh, you can take an Uber. That's nothing.
You Uber that for sure.
Yeah, an Uber.
For sure. With a discount with one of those little cards where you go to the bar to give you 5% off. Done.
There you go.
Done.
There you go. 5% is better than 0%. Why not?
Exactly. Let's see, real quick. We're going to just do a quick off the top. What's in your glass? I am, yet again, drinking Jameson until they send me a cease and desist or hopefully a sponsorship, one or the other. Guys, it's up to you.
Hopefully we have something in the works as far as sponsorship.
I actually talked to a company, and we're in discussions of them sending me bottles of stuff. This was the big moment. This is what we've been working for the whole time. Just one free bottle of booze. Tristen, what's in your glass?
All right, so I don't drink out of glasses because I'm a savage. I'm drinking out of this 3.78 liter bottle of vodka. You might think it's water because it's in a water gallon. It's a spring water, but it's vodka. Hey, look, kayfabe, brother, kayfabe. So I'm just going to sit here and drink my vodka while you drink your Jameson. Hold on, let me take a swig. Oh, it's the strong stuff. But hey, I'm glad that I was
the Austin of vodka. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's right. 3.78 liters of vodka. And hey, if you're from Russia, it's vodka.
That's a good point. It is. Spring vodka, as it were. That's awesome. Let's see. We're going to do this really quick at the top of the show before we get too far into it. We did have a raffle on our Twitter for a Rob Schamberger print. It'd probably been nice if I had thought ahead and actually put it in front of me so I could hold it up, but forget it. It's on our Twitter.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Now. But also, congratulations, Bobby
if you're
Goodwin.
Listening, oh my God. So on our Twitter, you can follow us at WOTR the show, and we do have a winner to announce for the raffle. Producer, go ahead.
All right. Well, like I just said, Bobby Goodwin, congratulations.
Woo! Bobby Goodwin.
Woo!
Bobby.
Rob Schamberger print, 25 of 25 of NXT.
If you don't know who Rob Schamberger is, people, Rob Schamberger, he's the man. I interviewed him on another show, and Rob Schamberger does some pretty decent artwork for the WWE. And if you buy WWE merchandise a lot, you're probably wearing something that he drew. Probably. Rob Schamberger, over, brother, over.
I was just doing a quick head count. I have, it looks like 16 Schambergers up on my wall right now, and I've got some in the back in the folders and stuff. And I've been really getting into their mini little, his little mini select series. Have you seen that?
No.
4x6 ones? Ooh,
No, I haven't. I haven't started to buy any of his paraphernalia. I don't have much wrestling paraphernalia. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, what? Even though I'm a wrestler and I'm a podcaster that does a pro wrestling podcast, I'm still a fan, but I don't have much pro wrestling paraphernalia. And I thought about it. The most I have is I have a WrestleMania chair. I got a WrestleMania DVD that I was there with the ticket inside. And I got this Hulk Hogan book that I bought at an indie show maybe 10 years ago. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's sitting in a Ziploc bag. So, I guess I'm not a real wrestling fan. I don't pretend to be a wrestling fan on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Friday nights. So,
I think that there's just different variations of it. I always blame my brother for me having the amount of collectibles I have when it comes to wrestling. Because when I moved to New York, I decided I wasn't going to collect anything, and I had all of, I think, 3 Funko Pops out of the box because I didn't want to collect them. And it turns out those are 3 of the most expensive ones you can find if they're in the box now. But I destroyed that, so that dream's gone. But I didn't want to do any collecting. But then I moved to Arizona. My brother gave me a signed Roddy Piper T-shirt.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, I've got to display this. And I made this really big display. You can only see the bottom of it here where I put up the Roddy Piper shirt and some drawings and figures in there. And I thought it looked really weird by itself on the wall. And now there's no space on the wall.
The best part about the unique part about having that Roddy Piper autographed T-shirt, and think about it like this. There will never, ever be a brand new Roddy Piper autographed T-shirt, and you have it. That's something very special to hold to your heart.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure, yeah. As soon as I got it, I was like, are you sure, dude? You're giving me this? He's like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything with it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to make a really big deal out of it. It's going to be the centerpiece of the whole room. So, well, that's our winner from our raffle. I hit 200 subscribers or followers this weekend, and our show hit 250. So we did the little giveaway there just for that. Cheers to him, and cheers to you, Tristen, for coming on the show.
Cheers to you. I'm drinking my vodka, spring water. That's right.
Yeah,
Salud.
when we say small show, we mean we're a small show.
We're not big. We're not big, but we're loud.
Look, if you want to be a bigger show, just drink out of bigger glasses. That's it.
You're holding yourself back, kid.
That's right. The show's only as big as the glass that you drink. So if you're drinking out of a medium-sized glass, people drink out of bigger glasses. Get yourself over.
That's a good point. I can't argue that. I cannot argue that. I have no evidence to dispute that whatsoever.
That's right. So next week's show, for the first show, Marsh, ladies and gentlemen, will be back with a bigger glass. Stay tuned.
Just get one of those like boots. It's like, it's got whiskey. What do you want me to do?
That's right.
Let's see. So, did we put over your stuff on the beginning, man?
I mean, we didn't, but we could. Hey, I'm here for you. I'm following your lead. You're dancing.
Put it over. Put over
All right,
your stuff real quick.
So for those of you who don't know who I am, right? I'm Tristen Law, a professional wrestler. Been wrestling for 10 years here in New York. Started with Team 3D Academy, Bubba and Devon Dudley in Florida. Then I moved up to New York, New Jersey area. That's where I really started cutting my teeth here in pro wrestling. And I started training with Nunzio and Richie Rotten and Preacher out of BWO in New Jersey. And I took a hiatus and I came back. And fun fact about me is that I actually wrestled a majority of WrestleMania 3. If you go through people in WrestleMania 3, I wrestled a lot of people in WrestleMania 3. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Depends on who you ask, but I think it's pretty cool. But at this current time, I actually host my own podcast, The Tristen Law Show, where I introduce you, the listeners, to the personalities in and out of the professional wrestling ring. So what I try to do different than any other podcast, guys, is that I want to introduce you not to the wrestler because you know the wrestler. You see the wrestler on TV. I want you to know the personality behind the personality, the man behind the man, the woman behind the woman. So I've had episodes. I've run 5 episodes already. Episode 6 is getting ready to drop Wednesday. New episodes drop Wednesday. You can check it out on TristenLawShow.com, or you can find it anywhere you can find a podcast. So I've had referees on my show. I've had Ariella Nix. She's a female wrestler. I've had Corey Castle. Corey Castle actually did a short film, Bruised. I'm sorry, not Bruised. Bruce, which is a Batman short film, but he's getting ready to do a movie with Halle Berry. So I asked people different questions than you would ask. I actually have a episode in the works with a former NYPD officer who's a ring announcer. And man, for like an hour and a half, we really get into old police stories that he tells. So it's not your traditional wrestling show. You're going to get to know the personalities behind the personalities. And it's not my first run at a podcast. This is just my first big run at a podcast. I prefer people to hashtag We're the Show, TristenLawShow.com. And that's what I do.
Absolutely. That's so awesome. I just realized that, we got so comfortable just talking before we even went on. I was like, wait a second. I didn't give you time to put it over. I felt like we were already in the conversation. So definitely got to stop for that. Oh, man, I feel all like... My brain feels scrambled right now.
You drunk already, bro?
Good. This is going to go great. This is good news. This is good news, everybody. Let's see. Well, if there's not anything else you wanted to cover off the top, let's go into a couple of things that happen in the news.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
If you're into that.
I love news.
Oh, I was going to ask you a question real quick. Nah, see, while you're putting over your thing, I've got to like take notes on what I want to ask you about what you just said.
Go for it.
I think actually great.
Let me start over.
No, start over.
It's the first show, so I mean we can start over. We're allowed to
redo it.
Yeah.
There was one night we had I think 3 takes to episode 1. It was not bad.
Yeah, see,
We've had worse nights. So what was the time frame in which you wrestled the majority of the WrestleMania 3 card? I imagine it wasn't one night, but like this was over a period of time. What was that? Was it how many years?
It was maybe over the span of maybe 2-3 years. I wrestled with this company, ECPW, East Coast Professional Wrestling. That's my home, I guess. Since BWO is no longer open, they've been defunct for a couple years now. And Richie or Preach, if you're watching, I want you to open back. It was so much fun. But that's the time that I wrestled them. It actually started to. I wrestled Jimmy Snuka, Nikolai Volkov, and Tito Santana for a different company in a 3-way tag match in MCU Park, I believe it's called. It's the baseball stadium built in Coney Island. And I wrestled in front of maybe a couple thousand people. Man, I was greener than a brand new dollar bill in somebody's wallet. Hey, it's not about winning, brother. It's about getting over. But we got over. Okay, we got over that night. And we got over that night. But like, imagine like going out there and people were like booing me, and you know, like people had a good time. I see one of the things for me when I wrestle is I realized that people have to put up with a lot of crap in order to make $20 an hour. Some people don't make $20 an hour. Some people are fortunate to make more. So for you to take $20 and come to a wrestling show and pay your money to see me, I'm giving you my money's worth. Like even for my show, the Tristen Law show, like there's an option to where people can sponsor the show anywhere from $6 to $10 right now. We just changed the Patreon level. And if, you know, for $6, you're just supporting the show. You get a virtual high five. I'll give you one right now. Boom. First one's always free. And the $10 option, you get your episodes on Monday, so you don't have to wait until Wednesday to get them, but they're also ad-free. You don't get any ads. So I feel that for whatever it is, anytime somebody gives me money for something that I do in entertainment, I want you to feel like, you know what, this guy is giving me the best that he can, and at the end, I want you to feel like, you know what, this is my money's worth, and I can't wait to see what he has to give us next time. I'm always honored for that.
Yeah, and if you want to support our show, if you want to buy me a drink, you can just go ahead and smash that Prime subscribe right there. Costs you nothing if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber and buys me a drink. Real quick, in that 2 or 3 year time span, what was the biggest aha learning lesson you got in the ring with one of those WrestleMania 3 years?
That you don't need to go out there and punch out your bump card. So one of the things that I tell younger wrestlers is that you have this bump card. It's an invisible. And you may think at 18 years old, it's an infinite number of bumps that you can take and you'll be okay forever. Bumps are the falls that we take for people that don't know. So, you know, instead of going out there and punching out your bump card, you can go out there and tell the story. And that's what I preach to younger guys. The moves don't matter. It's the story that invests people and make people like what they see and make them want to come back for more. And I learned that with Jimmy Snuka. I wrestled Jimmy Snuka multiple times. I wrestled Jimmy Snuka one time in the Bronx, and we probably only touched each other for a matter of maybe a minute throughout the entire match. But anything other than that, that match was like over. It was like crazy. Everybody loved that match because of the story that we told in the match. And that's what I learned, is that you don't need to punch out your bump card to tell a good match. Just go out there nice and easy, or as Jimmy Snuka would say, rest his soul, nice and easy, brother. Nice and easy, brother. You know, that's what we would do. That's what I learned.
That's what I talk about all the time when I talk about some of the matches that I think that we end up putting over the most on here. Is it's not the matches that have the most moves or the biggest spots or the biggest GIFs you can replay, but it's the story that was told in between the moves that are things that really grab me.
That's correct. Like, let's go back to WrestleMania 24 in Orlando between Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. You can't. No, there's not one person sitting here right now. If you can, God bless you, that could sit down right now and tell you spot for spot, move for move, what happened. But you can tell some of the big spots, the moments that happened in the match because of the story. The moonsault where Shawn Michaels landed on the table and you thought he broke a rib, or at the end where Shawn Michaels gives Ric Flair the "I love you" and the super kick. That was the exclamation part on the story. You know, when Ric Flair comes out for that one last time with that blue robe, I could tell you the robe is blue, and I'm getting goosebumps, brother, thinking about it. Ric Flair comes down the ramp, and he holds his arms out, and the fireworks go off behind him, and he spins around, and it's just like, oh my God. I lived in Orlando about 5 minutes from the Citrus Bowl when that happened, and I was watching it live, and I could hear the fireworks, and just thinking about that now, it's the story that people like. I don't care what people think. Some people like the moves. That's great. Some people like karate movies because they like to see the and all the karate stuff. But some people like thrillers or romance and rom-com. That's what I think it's called, rom-coms. Or, you know, some action movies because of the story that they tell. So I try to tell that as well. Tell the story. Tell the story, brother. Nice and easy, brother. Nice and easy.
Yeah. I always think about in that match, too, when you watch it, you can tell Shawn is taking such good care of Rick. Like, some of the spots that Shawn did were Ric Flair spots that he would have normally done, but almost as an homage was like, let me take the bump for you. Was kind of like the underneath level of it, too, which, I mean, yeah, and everyone cried when they saw Shawn saying, I'm sorry, I love you, and then doing a super kick. No one else talks about super kicks as the moment. Oh, did you remember when that super kick happened? But that's the one that everyone goes, oh, yeah, I remember crying during that super kick. It's not because it was the move. It was because of everything before that move.
That's right.
So 100% agree with that. I'm glad that you learned that from Jimmy Snuka. I learned it from you or from watching. I don't know.
And everybody else that's watching right now, brother, has learned from me, brother.
That's right. That's how they live on. Let's see. Oh, and the other question I had about your show, who was the referees that you interviewed?
Who was the referee? I refereed. I interviewed Ref D.M. Stevens. He's one of my favorite referees out here on the indie scene in the East Coast, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey area. I love that guy. Like, I love when he's in the ring because I know that he's going to take care of me and the other guy that's in the ring. And, you know, to expose the business just a little bit, a tad bit. You know, the referee has a very important job, and the job's not just to stay in it to count to three. You know, I utilize the referee a lot when it comes to the professional wrestling match, you know, to help tell the story. He's a part of the illusion. He's a part. He makes the illegitimate legitimate. That's what the referee does. It was Ref DM Stevens. He was my first episode, and he's an aquarium enthusiast. So you actually learn a little bit about goldfish. I didn't know that about goldfish. I learned that from him.
Huh.
Yeah.
I love the fishes because they're so delicious. What? It's about crackers.
Right. It's talking about crackers.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a snack.
Yes. It was goldfish.
All right, fine. I've gone too far, apparently, with a goldfish joke.
Hmm.
That's where the line is today. I feel like this is not going to go great.
Don't let your producer tell you what to do. You run the show, okay, Marsh? You run the show.
I don't
You tell her
hits
right
the mute button is the problem.
You tell her right now, hey, if she hits the mute button, she doesn't have a job. Fire her. Fire
Say
her.
that. You say that until you hear his farts.
She edits them out now.
Your farts?
Well, the mic's not as good as it used to be. Right? Now I got a different type of mic. It doesn't pick up the whole room, so now people don't know.
Oh, okay then. Well, I'm glad that you're giving her less work, so she doesn't have to edit out the farts then.
Yeah, she was very upset. Ruined
probably-
many a show.
You probably
She
shouldn't use
feeds
the
me right before the show. What am I supposed to do?
What does she feed you?
Varies.
White-
Fish, mostly.
Okay. I thought it was like White Castle. Like if it's White Castle, then
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it used to be chicken and pizza. It was wings and pizza for like weeks on end, and then it was like, you know what cheese does to my stomach. You can't be mad at me. But all right.
Anything does to your stomach.
Yeah. And then it turns out I said the same thing about broccoli, and she's like, I don't know where the limit is. So, well, I think all that stuff's really good. I think that's all really good reasons to go ahead and check out the Tristen Law show if you haven't already. Let's see. So let's get into some of the news. If you're all right with that.
do it.
The Rock. The Rock was in the news this week. He has COVID-19. Now, apparently he's on the upswing. He's got his flavor back. But he announced him and his entire family had tested positive for COVID. And then on his string, I thought it was also very interesting that Kevin Nash also admitted that him and his family had it. And then AJ Styles on his Twitch started talking about how he had COVID as well. What do you think about The Rock getting COVID? I thought he'd be immune to everything.
Well, you see, when I heard that The Rock got the COVID-19, I wasn't worried about that because The Rock will take COVID-19 down to the corner of Jabroni Drive and Smackdown Boulevard, and he will lay the smackers down on coronavirus's candy ass. I wasn't worried about it at all, no.
That's a good point.
Were you worried?
Rock doesn't do jobs. You know what I mean? He's not going to do the job to Corona. That's for damn sure.
Not anymore. He's a big Hollywood star. Why would he job out to coronavirus?
No, you wouldn't. If Tom Hanks isn't doing the job for Corona, Rock's not doing the job for Corona.
Wait. You trying to say Tom Hanks and The Rock are as big of stars? Like, they're not on the same level? Like, The Rock flies his own jet, and Tom Hanks just sits in the back of somebody else's. You see how that works?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. If Tom Hanks... Wait, is that what I'm saying?
Drink the Jameson and try again.
I got to...
Jameson and try again. Rewind.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, when you look at the movies that Tom Hanks is in,
Yes.
his characters are constantly doing jobs to all sorts of things, mostly travel. He mostly does the job to travel.
You're right. Then
The
Tom
Rock,
Hanks
none of his portrayals, that guy he doesn't do a job in the movies. He's not going to do it to Corona in real life.
You're right. Like, if that was a whole movie, The Rock would just like probably scale an entire building and like, you know, make friends with a monkey and then jump into a video game and like just beat Corona.
Yeah, he would just destroy it. It'd be like Asteroids, but with the Rock punches.
That's correct.
So, I did think it was kind of wild too. Like, I wonder I also think about AJ. I think he was off TV for a couple of weeks.
Yes, I remember that in April, May-ish. April. Actually, it might have been when he got hurt at WrestleMania.
Do you think it was that, or do you think it was like right when he got the Intercontinental title? Because he had like a match right after, and then we didn't see him for a little bit.
You're right. The world may never know.
And then I don't think anybody noticed because it was like, well, the Intercontinental title seems to come and go all the time.
Right. And then Sammy, what's his name? Sami Zayn. Thank you. You see, I love your producer already. What? So Sami Zayn comes back with the belt and goes, "Wait a minute, AJ, what are you doing here? But you're not the champion anymore because somebody else is the champion."
I love all that. We're definitely going to talk about that when we get to SmackDown. I'm so excited about that potential triple threat. I do think, though, that AJ getting on Twitch and talking about his Corona is what leads us into the next storyline, to be honest. I know a lot of people are talking about who they think was the straw that broke the camel's back on this one, but WWE has put a halt and a stop on all third-party contracts with talent. For sometime in the next 30 days, they have to get rid of it. Let me see. I had put down their statement on it because I thought it was relevant. They said, much like Disney and Warner Brothers, WWE creates, promotes, and invests in its intellectual property, i.e. the stage names of performers like The Fiend Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, Big E, and Braun Strowman. It is the control and exploitation of these characters that allows WWE to drive revenue, which in turn enables the company to compensate performers at the highest levels in the sports entertainment industry. Notwithstanding the contractual language, it is imperative for the success of our company to protect our greatest assets and establish partnerships with third parties on a company-wide basis rather than at an individual level, which as a result would provide more value for all involved. What do you think about them potentially shutting it down? I will say that Stephanie McMahon previously had said, I think the talent that we have today have more of an opportunity than anybody ever did before because of social media. They recognize their own opportunity and build their own brand and their own voice both in and outside the ring. The more that people are engaged with you as a person and as an individual, which again, I think is an evolution, the more they're going to want to see you perform. They're going to want to hear you talk or see you in the ring, is something else Stephanie McMahon said. And I don't see the other thing. Maybe it's because it was just a flat-out rumor, but it was having to do with the potential of them just saying, it sounds like it's veering towards you can't use your gimmick name. You have to use your real name if you're going to be on those. What do you think from an independent wrestler, the idea of not being able to utilize third-party platforms in that manner, potentially with or without your gimmick name? And I'll tell you from a fan what I thought some people weren't really talking about.
Well, Marsh, as a wrestler, you can't get mad at the WWE, right? Because the WWE right now doesn't, in my opinion, because I don't work for the WWE. I might know one or two people that work there, but I don't work for the WWE, nor am I using any secondhand information that I've heard from them. This is just purely my thoughts and my emotions going into this. But I feel that WWE does not want anybody bigger than the brand anymore whatsoever. You've had people like The Rock. Where's The Rock? Rock's gone. You've had people like Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan could make a name for himself. He doesn't need pro wrestling anymore. You've got people like John Cena. John Cena was the last one to go out there and make a name for himself. And look at John Cena now. He doesn't need the WWE. So these people pretty much get in to professional wrestling to get themselves over so they can step in to other areas of entertainment. Is it right? Yeah. Is it wrong? Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's business. So you got to make sure that you can eat for yourself. So, like, yes, WWE does create or give these people the platform to go ahead and make themselves bigger stars that they couldn't have been bigger stars elsewhere because the opportunity didn't exist elsewhere. So, for example, if I went to WWE right now and they want to use the name Tristen Law, they want to call me, Chuck Schmuck. They want to use the name that I use here on the Indies and whatnot. I would sell them the rights to use that name while I'm employed for them. But after that, I would take the name and go elsewhere, which is hence why WWE wants to change the names for some of our favorite superstars, such as Kevin Steen is now Kevin Owens, or El Generico is actually Sami Zayn. Come on, producer. Sami Zayn. There you go. So, that's why they want to do that. But in the end, a lot of people on Twitter, and you can follow me on Twitter at The Real Big Tris, on Twitter and Instagram. But people were upset on Twitter because the WWE was doing that. So before everybody out there gets upset, just listen to what I have to say. We all have a dream that we want to work for WWE. A lot of wrestlers do. 99.99% of professional wrestlers that you will meet want to work for the WWE, and they want to wrestle at WrestleMania. And
even the ones who say they don't, but you say, well, wouldn't you like to perform at WrestleMania? They light up a little bit and go, well, of course. And you go, okay,
right,
well, you do.
Right. They don't want to be marked for themselves. Yeah. So you sign this contract with WWE saying that they're paying you X amount of money to do X amount of things. It's all a contract. One of the things that I do, that I tell people, that I tell young wrestlers, is that you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate, and that's something that you negotiate. Now, somebody that's smaller on the line, somebody that's a brand new NXT person, or somebody that's a lower card NXT, they might not have that clout to go ahead doing contract negotiations and renegotiate that. But somebody like AJ Styles, hey, you know what? Is it worth us losing AJ Styles over the fact that he wants to do Twitch? You know what? Fine, AJ. Go ahead and do your Twitch, but we want 10% of all your revenue. It's what you negotiate. If he's like, I don't want to give you nothing. Okay, well, you know what? Somebody has to make a life decision. Is AJ Styles a big enough star that we can go to lose him? Okay, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and make some kind of concession. That well that everybody was milking, that they were taking water out of that well, it's ran dry now. The party's over. So you can't get mad at the WWE because the WWE is deciding to pull back the reins a little bit. Okay, it's their intellectual property. It's like you're living in a house, but you're renting the house, but you decide, I'm going to tear down this wall, and I'm going to build a kitchen there, and I'm going to get rid of the kitchen, get rid of the living room and put a swimming pool in there. It's not yours. You borrow it. If you want to build a swimming pool in there, you get with the landlord and you negotiate it. And the landlord's going to tell you yes or no when you figure out a way to make it happen. But one last thing I want to make on that point as well, too, is that, again, WWE doesn't want anybody to become bigger than the brand. WrestleMania 1, 2, 3, those first couple of WrestleManias, right before WrestleMania started going into bigger and bigger stadiums, right? They started playing at bigger houses, brother. The main event, the matches, sold WrestleMania. But in this day and age, WrestleMania is just like the Super Bowl. They're selling tickets to the Super Bowl and to WrestleMania before you even know who's playing, because the brand is bigger than who is in it. And that's what I think about that whole thing.
Pat McAfee actually mentioned that the weirdest crowd he ever performed in front of, as far as football went, was Super Bowl crowd. He goes, you'd be surprised how many people are there just because it's cool to go to a Super Bowl, or because they got free tickets from their job, or because they won them from something. He's all like, it's the one crowd where people aren't there because they're supporting their team. They're there because it's the game. And so so the crowd was actually very weird to perform in.
That's right.
I think a couple things. I think something that was worth noting was that they said that the contract being with, let's see, to establish partnerships with third parties on a company-wide basis rather than individual level. And I thought that was something really important to note. They're also not necessarily saying that they don't want to be utilizing Cameo and they don't want to be utilizing Twitch or any of those things, but they're saying that when these individuals are going out there and doing their own contracts on them, that for one, they're in essence getting in an entertainment contract with another platform. And is that a violation of their non-compete? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know contracts. And I guess we should say that definitely up front, as you already mentioned. I don't have a contract to look at from a talent, and I don't have the talent insight. I'm just reading stuff and wildly guessing. But I do like to check out Cameo all the time and see what's going on there. It is really hard to find the WWE talent on there. But if they had like their own tab, because you go through it as like, football, NHL, it's got wrestlers and you go in there and then there's some of them, but some of the wrestlers you like are not under the wrestlers tab. Some of them you got to actually look up WWE. Some of them you got to look up announcer. Like you've got to look up these weird things to find the person you're looking for, and you're just confident that they're in there because they've mentioned it. Like I remember trying to figure out how much the Iconics were just because I was curious when they were first on there.
Right.
After like 6 or 7 minutes, I couldn't find them. And I was like, I guess they're just not on here. But then it turns out they were. I just couldn't find them. But if they had a partnership with the company on whole, I could search for Iconics and find them. You know what I mean? Or there'd be a tab where everyone who worked under that umbrella was easily found. So from a fan perspective, I can't engage with the talent I'm trying to simply because I don't know what to call you or what your keywords are or how you got set up. Or if they're setting it up on their own, maybe they're not setting it up well on their own. Maybe the Iconics didn't even put the word wrestler in their keywords. Maybe they were thinking of other things. You know what I mean?
True.
Oh, producer wants to say something.
I also,
producer.
Hey, I also think to Tristan's point, it's important to realize that this company is a publicly traded company. It's huge.
Boom.
And it can't operate like a small entity. It's too big to do that. So of course they've got to think of the entire company, because without the company then they can't support anyone.
Yeah, that's the other thing too is something else that's gone away this year, because I also wouldn't be surprised if this turns out to be a larger contract that happens with WWE. Maybe you'd even see a WWE logo on AJ Styles' Twitch. Maybe we can get to that point. Maybe they do have large contracts where our talent can get in there and maybe they get a different percentage. But something and Cameo, and maybe then they can start marketing the things. Because the other thing is they started doing virtual meet and greets because conventions are no longer a thing. Without having conventions, WWE can't charge a convention to send their talents. I'm not going to go into what my understanding is of their prices are because, again, I'm not involved in those parts of the business at all. But I do know that WWE gets a chunk of money. They send their talent there, and their talent gets a chunk of money from the contract through the WWE. They go there, and the convention sells their tickets, and they keep their ticket sales. So the WWE has effectively been cut out of all meet and greets. Does WWE need the money? Probably not. They're doing very well. However, are they a business? Yes. And are they looking at lost revenue? Yes. What happened to that revenue? Not how could we make up it from somewhere else, right? So they had that huge jump in numbers. It's like, oh, we're doing so well, we don't need to worry about lost revenue. They're probably still going to look at lost revenue.
It's not where that money is. It's, hey, how can we get into it? But let me give everybody another example. 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, cell phones started becoming a thing. It was like 2000. I remember buying my first cell phone at like 15, 16 years old. I thought I was the man with my little Motorola phone from
The
Voice.
Peanut?
No, it was like about this big. It was not the Peanut. It was like a Motorola phone. You could buy skins to put on it here and there.
Yeah, the little rubber one. It was shaped like a peanut. It was the first one that did text messaging. Carson Daly did.
Yes.
I had that was my first cell phone too. The Carson Daly phone, I called it all the time.
So I remember going on Fordham Road in the Bronx and spending $100 on that, and I got minutes. And when you got cell phones at the time, text messaging was included, but it was free and it was unlimited. But you would pay for your minutes. So the cell phone companies realized that there's this small portion of the network that is there that we can dedicate to text messaging. I'll never catch on. Then it starts catching on. So then what happens? The phone company said, we need to regulate this down because we need to make the money. Like you were saying, Marsh, it's not that it's lost revenue. It's more like, how can we get in on the fun? So now they start making text messaging plans. There was a time back in the day I used to work for AT&T. Boy, let me tell you, before unlimited text messaging, I would see bills that were $500 in text messaging alone
It was
from
10
kids.
cents a message.
Yep, and for going over, right. And I would have to figure out a way to make your bill not $500. So then they came out with unlimited text messaging. Fast forward, right? Fast forward to 2020. When you're buying a cell phone now, you're not buying your phone for minutes. Nobody talks on the phone. You're buying your phone for your data and your text messaging.
Yep.
Because so like voice now on the phone is worthless. So now the same exact thing like the phone companies did, they realized, hey, look, data and text messaging is where it's at. WWE wants to get some. Hey, you know what? If you guys want to go ahead and get this, we need our cut. Because the only reason that you're here is because we allow you to. And you know what, too? Because WWE is on this global platform, it's going to include additional revenue that those wrestlers wouldn't be able to get, because the WWE would be able to market them on a worldwide, global, and hey, you know what? Maybe if they have the WWE network on Mars or the International Space Station, they'll be able to purchase cameos or watch Twitch as well, too, because the WWE will put them out there. Like, for example, Xavier Woods, Up, Down, Down. That was something he brought to the WWE before he got there. Now he utilizes it with the WWE. I don't know whether he signed his rights over or he allows the WWE to use it while he's employed, while he's under contract with them. But Up, Down, Down, I believe, is bigger now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because they now have that WWE. They now have that marketing machine to push them.
The platform they give you is its own market. Like I'm always rooting for the boys, and I always like to see people make good money and get those big contracts. But at the same time, Big E's not charging $125 if it wasn't for WWE.
Darn right.
You know what I mean? Look at the cameos on AEW. Look at the prices for any AEW talent on Cameo. You can get them for $40 or less. All of them.
Wow. Even Jericho?
Jericho's not on Cameo. Get out of that.
I don't know how that works.
Jericho's got that WWE platform history. He doesn't need that AEW cameo money.
Well, yeah, very good point. Very good point, though. $40 average for AEW, and
some of them are 20, dude. Some of them are definitely 20. I think was the Jungle Boy. I think he's like 20, 25.
Wow, look at that.
That's homegrown AEW. The only one who's not that's homegrown is MJF, who's 500 because of his character, not because of his value.
Hey, but like I always said, somebody got mad when they did WrestleMania 229 in Jersey the first time they were in MetLife, and somebody said, "Man, Hulk Hogan's out there charging." I'm just going to make this number because I can't remember. Oh, Hulk Hogan is charging $125 for an autograph. Look, you only need a couple people to pay for it to make it worth it.
Yeah,
because nobody comes and pays the $125 for a Hulk Hogan autograph, then it's not worth it. But if somebody goes ahead and buys it, oh yeah, brother, we made $10,000 off autographs alone. Boom, there you go.
Yeah,
problem solved.
And right now, WWE's not making any money on meet and greets. They did the SummerSlam meet and greet, and it was $120 for 2 minutes of a Zoom call. And I'm trying to think if it was $120 for all of them, because I feel like somebody was slightly different. Someone I think was $100, but you got $120 for a 2-minute Zoom call with Bayley. If she pops up on Cameo for $80, who's going to buy the virtual meet and greet?
Right. You see, you get it right, and it's more personalized.
It can be. I mean, the Zoom calls actually looked really cool. To be honest with you, it was 2 minutes, and it was usually like, "Oh, do you have a question for me?" And they went back and forth, and it actually looked very, very cool. It looked a little bit different. I liked it actually more than Cameo, I think, because there seems to be more of a one-on-one, whereas the Cameo is really like you basically send them a text message, and then they reply to your text message effectively. So a little bit different, but yeah, I think that they have to keep the value up for that. Are you going to buy a $120 meet and greet virtual Zoom call with AJ if he's streaming for 6 hours a week on Twitch for free and interacting with his fans? They have to keep the value up too.
You're right.
So I get it. I mean, I understand a lot of people were talking about, they did the math on it, and they do believe that Big E made something like $64,000 on Cameo alone.
Hey.
And yeah, it's all like based off the idea that he's $125 a Cameo and he has 516 reviews. They're assuming that everyone who made a review got a Cameo, because I don't think they send you the review link unless you get a Cameo.
Right.
And they're saying that would be a minimum because there's probably people who didn't leave a review. So And I think that's fair because I bought a Cameo and meant to do a review and just didn't. And so it's like, okay, well, you can safely assume that some people just won't remember to do that. So they're saying he made like 64 grand. Like, you're just going to take this out from Big E. And you're like, well,
64 grand, and let's say that Big E's on a contract that's paying him, and I'm speculating because I don't know the particulars to Big E's contract, but let's say that Big E's making $80,000 a year, and on top of that 60, he's cleaning up. That's not including WWE sending him his royalty check quarterly for utilizing his likeness. That's not including his pay-per-view bonus.
yeah.
Wow.
It's also not including the fact that he sells his gear. Every time he's done wearing a gear, you never see him in older gear because he sells it every time.
Right. Imagine if Big E had kids. Hey, Big E, if you listen, and one day I'm going to have kids. You want to put them through college? Uncle E. Hey, Uncle E. What's up?
Uncle E's paying for college.
Yeah, right? Come on, kids. Say hi to your Uncle E. He's paying for you to go through college.
Now, on the same time, and on the same token, I don't want to like say WWE's completely in the right here. Maybe they're not. Maybe the idea of it's also a world that didn't exist before is worth noting, that people who are considered independent contractors are being put in a position where they're not able to make more money outside of the contract that you've given them. Could seem as very restrictive, and I understand that. And again, I just don't understand both sides of it to that degree. I've been an independent contractor in IT before, and it was definitely utilized as a manner to make sure I didn't get benefits and to make sure that they could undercut my pay versus what it would have been if I was a salary employee. So I also know that companies use that to give less, where I think that WWE, so far as I can tell from the stories that I've heard from a lot of the legends who've told stories about injuries and such, WWE uses it as a way to blanket pay for everybody's kind of everything. You know what I mean? Like, if they're not paying for your medical insurance, but they're making sure that you're completely covered throughout any kind of rehab and physical therapy or anything like that you ever have to go through, I see their balance there. I don't know that I wouldn't stand there and say that I'm taking a side or the other. I understand both sides feeling like that they're right. You know what I mean?
And the thing, though, is that when WWE released people from their contracts, if they were employees, WWE most times would have to pay unemployment. You know, they would have to pay some kind of health benefits. You know, it's different things that WWE doesn't have to pay. They have to make sure that they fire people correctly, because if they don't fire people correctly, then they're going to be held up, you know, to where they can go to court and get sued. So, I mean, I see why the WWE does it as an independent contractor, but let me tell you something. Those people, like, you know, that are making big money out there, $64,000. Let me tell you something. It sucks that you're not getting it anymore, but like you can't really get mad at the WWE for reining it in, like everybody, like we're saying, because right now
that too. Watching it go, I was like, man, this is out of hand. Like, everybody's got, like, we even noticed as soon as COVID hit, the first thing that happened is every single WWE wrestler ended up on Twitch. And we're all like, we've got either a lot of competition or a lot of new fans in the Twitch pool.
Yeah, there used to be like just 2 or 3. It was like Xavier, Ember, and Zelina. They had their long time Twitch.
That was it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, COVID hits, and Ronda Rousey gets one, Mia Yim's got one, Paige has got one, Lacey Evans, I think, has one now. Like, they're all just getting them, and I was like, wow, I can't believe WWE's just letting this fly.
But
like, just watching it.
It's only for one. No, it's because everybody's bored. That's the only reason I started the Tristen Law show. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me try this podcast. You know, I got some interesting ways to ask people questions, and I got a personality. Right? It's my personality to uncover these things. That's why I decided to pay the $59 a year for the PlayStation Now, because I wanted PlayStation Now, so I can play other games because of COVID. If it wasn't for COVID, there's a lot of things. So, like, for me, usually on a Friday night, Saturday night, I'm usually like traveling somewhere wrestling. You know, after a long work day, working a shoot job, I got to go work the wrestling job, brother. You know, I would go ahead and I would do that, but, you know, I wouldn't have time for anything else between going down to the wrestling school, keep myself sharp, working out, you know, trying to live my regular life. You know, I wouldn't have time. But now, because of COVID, I have the time now because we're not wrestling so many shows. Promoters are trying to figure it out. So I have more time. You know, on a normal night, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk, you know, on the show with your wonderful listeners here on Twitch or listening to us wherever you find a podcast. You know, I wouldn't have time for that because I'd be out there doing something else. But because of Twitch I mean, because of COVID, COVID has made a way, and I'm not trying to glorify COVID in any way whatsoever and say that COVID is
I am a fan of COVID on this show.
I'm not trying to put COVID over by any way whatsoever, but
Now you
know,
sound like Netflix.
Yeah.
but if you come, and this is to anybody listening or watching live right now, you know, and remember, you can watch live every Thursday night, 5:30 Central, 5:30 Arizona time. I don't know what time you are. Anyway, I'm just trying to put the show over. But you know, if you come out of COVID and we go back to a normal life, whatever normal life is, and you don't have a new trick up your sleeve, shame on you. What did you do with it? You know, maybe you can learn how to knit. Maybe you can learn how to design graphics or something like that. Come out of this better. And again, because of COVID, everybody had more time in their hands. The WWE superstars are not traveling the road, you know, wrestling 5 shows a night, and then one day's you got TV, you got your travel day, you're home for really 1.5 days, and you're back on the road again. No, most of them that live in Florida, they probably should leave their house once or twice a week.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
100%. It all changed. What I can say is we've been doing this since before COVID. We do this show because we're passionate and we love doing it. But if you want to hear someone bored, so they're doing a podcast, check out Tristen Law.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I sat around and I was like, man, because I was doing another podcast, and I'm like, you know what? I'm by myself now. You know, I have more time that I can focus on doing my own thing. Because a lot of people always told me, dude, you got a personality. You can do your own podcast. You don't need anybody else. And if it wasn't for COVID, me and my co-host wouldn't be doing the other show that we did. And we decided we did a show just like this. And if it wasn't for COVID, whatever happened wouldn't have happened. And I wouldn't have had the opportunity to say, you know what, let me go ahead and try it. I'm sitting there, I was like, you know what, I want to do my own podcast. I was able to sit there and conceptualize the idea in my head and make it into a fruition. And you can listen to it, Tristen Law Show, anywhere you find a podcast. New episodes every Wednesday.
You know what's funny is we were always like adamantly against the idea, not in a negative way. We're just like, let's just not do a podcast. Let's do our Twitch stream. We'll do a live show. We'll just kind of do a talk show on Twitch and let that be that. And I was like, but we don't need to be a podcast. There's a ton of wrestling podcasts. We don't need to be part of that pool. And after doing it for a little over a year, we're like kind of looking at what we have, the setup that we had going on, the recordings we had, and we're like, this is just a podcast that hasn't made it onto podcast networks. So we just decided to go ahead and bite the bullet, jump in, and be the thing that everyone thought we were anyways. Like, where's that podcast you Twitch? Like, oh, okay. So yeah, I can get that too, but I do think that there was definitely a time where noticing all the stars going out there and finding all these other things to do and build revenue, I definitely thought personally that it seemed a bit like something was going to come down at some point. Someone was going to tell them to stop.
Mm-hmm. Well, they go ahead, producer. Sorry.
Also, I think it was what dirt sheets were picking up from it.
Yeah,
well.
AJ Styles and Randy Orton both have made news headlines because of stuff they said on Twitch that WWE probably wish they didn't say. So I could also understand them saying, let's restrict this somehow. You know what I mean?
Fair point. They want to control the narrative because they are the narrative. They want to control the brand because they've created the brand. Can't blame them for that.
Yeah, Renee Young finished up with WWE. She had an interview with Sports Illustrated, and they asked her about her tweeting out that she had COVID, and she said that was not well received, that she did get a lot of text messages and negative reception for having said that. She didn't get into details because she's classy. But I think that if she sends out a tweet saying, guys, be careful, take it serious, I came down with COVID, and AJ's on Twitch at the same time going like, yeah, I got COVID. It was no big deal. I mean, some people are having it pretty bad, but I didn't have it bad. So, I mean, I hope everyone feels good. I hope no one gets it bad, but I was a lucky one. And, you know, it was just all right. It was just a thing I did. And you're kind of like, okay, well, I don't imagine they're pleased with that either. You know, what was the other thing that AJ went on that whole thing about Paul Heyman. He gets on his Twitch, and people are like, oh, what happened with the club? They're not there. And he goes, let me tell you exactly what happened with the club. And he goes on and tells his entire Paul Heyman story.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised. I was like, wow.
This dude's doing a shoot interview to a bunch of kids at home with PlayStation headphones.
For free.
Like, this is wild.
Yes, for free.
Yeah, for free. And I'm so like, when I saw that too, I was all like, they can't just let this go on forever, right? Like, something's going to happen. And then when this came out, I was all like, oh, okay, They're aware. They just had to get their ducks in a row.
That's right.
So I personally wasn't shocked by it. There's people who are just appalled and outraged at the evil WWE trying to penny pinch every single one of their millionaire employees. And I just don't feel the same level bad. I just don't. I feel bad for the guys. Also, as an independent contractor myself, I've never made a contract the size of one of their contracts. So...
And also, when you leave your contract and you go elsewhere, you're not still making money from your previous job.
Yeah,
with
I didn't
them.
make more money just because I had a contract somewhere else. You do that now with them. Like,
Right. You're still not getting royalty checks quarterly. Like, oh man, that wrestling thing I used to do 4 years ago with this company called WWE. You know, I'm still getting checks for them. They're not as big as they used to be, brother, but I'm still getting them.
yeah, hell yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was just something interesting to talk about. I want to know your side of it too, just from an aspiring, an active current talent, but an inspiring big name that we hope we can say we knew you when.
It's all right. I either a podcast and a professional wrestler, maybe AEW, Impact Wrestling. You never know when you want to see me, brother.
That's true. AEW's got a podcast too that's hosted by a referee. So
that's right.
Whatever. Not into. I know it's weird for a ref who's putting himself over to talk about refs putting themselves over, but I'm not on that level. If I was on national TV, the show probably would be different.
All right,
if at all. Let's do, before we get into All Out, because, we'll see. Before we get into the meat of the business, we got one last thing that I know of, unless there's something you wanted to pick up, producer or Tristen. Casey Michael passed away, who was the head of SC Sirens, if I remember correctly. And that was a women's wrestling fan podcast and website that was incredibly supportive of the women and their dreams and careers. So it was really sad to see him go because he was the main guy there. I hope that they continue, whoever was a part of that outside of him, I hope they continue to live through that vision and follow in those footsteps that he set forward. But from what I could tell, the stories I saw, the people that were impacted, the dude was an absolute shining star to all the women on the indie scene, and some of them who made it even past that.
Yeah,
So,
Mia Yim did
Mia
a
Yim.
shout out. There were quite a few NXT people that did shout outs.
Yeah, most of the NWA women's roster was just heartbroken about it. So we just wanted to give a little tears in our beers. Cheers to Casey Michael, and like I said, I hope that their show continues on with what was clearly his vision of supporting the women in wrestling.
Yeah, it was very sad. So young.
Did they say how he passed away?
No, I looked at that too. I was curious because he seems young, so you gotta imagine something. Yeah, he was in his 20s, so. It didn't say, so I'd hate to speculate, but it's always sad to see someone young to begin with, and then someone young who's being so supportive and verbose about their support. Because that's the other thing too that you see on Twitter. The reason that we are a very specific type of Twitter account is because it is a very loud, angry place. So if you want to get your Pointless Aggression t-shirts, go to WrestlingOnRocks.com, click on the shop, you can get right to it.
Ooh.
But there is not a ton of loud, positive voices on there, and that's what we try to veer ourselves towards and to. Quite honestly, I feel like the best boo you can give is silence. If you truly don't like something, just don't talk about it and it'll stop.
See, I remember a couple of weeks ago, somebody decided to go on. It was right when Sonny Kiss had TNT Championship match with Cody Rhodes, and a lot of people want to go on there and talk about Sonny Kiss's sexuality, which I don't understand why that has to do anything with professional wrestling. So people just need to mind their business and let the guy go out there and do what he does best, which is work. And I know Sonny, not personally, but I've worked with Sonny, and Sonny told me that his first interaction in the wrestling ring was with me. I didn't know that.
Cool.
But I see Sonny all the time when he comes down, when he's not working AEW, and the world was a normal place. He would come down. He would hang out with us at the show and whatnot, and we talk and stuff like that. Like Sonny's a nice person, and that person decided to go on Twitter and say some very negative things about Sonny, and the whole entire wrestling world made a big stink about it and literally put this guy in his place. But then, Bully Ray, he's on a nationally syndicated, nationally produced radio show that you can hear on satellite radio, and he was like, to the wrestlers out there, You need to let your social media work for you. Don't get worked by social media.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, wow. He went on to say that that person only had 10 followers. And in the world of Twitter, that person was standing in a corner by themselves with 10 people, where only 2 people probably would have cared what that person said. Yeah. But because I responded to it, my followers saw it. And then everybody else started responding to it. So we got that tweet over. So what I do now is I use my Twitter differently. I don't care what you have to say on Twitter. I will never block somebody on Twitter, because what I will do to you is I will mute the crap out of you, because I don't want you to think that I want you to think that you've rented out space in my head when you haven't, because you're muted and you don't matter. If you're rude, if you're disrespectful, you'll get everything that you deserve. Yes, please follow me at Real Big Trist on Instagram and Twitter, but I will mute you because I don't want to have to hear what you have to say, especially if it's rude, it's racist, or it's sexist. It's anything against another human being. We need to love one another and not be negative. You see, these trolls go on Twitter and they hide behind behind these people, behind these fake Twitter profiles, just so they go out there and be who they really are. Don't be a punk, people. Be who you really are. If that's who you really are, take your 250 followers and say what you really say. Don't make a fake Twitter account so that you can go out there and be rude to people. Because let me tell you, those are the same people that would see Sonny Kiss at the airport. I'm like, hey, can I get an autograph? No, you don't get an autograph because you're rude. Yeah. I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, the same thing. I think that social media is meant to be curated. If there's one thing I've learned also in a lot of just political discussions I've had with people, you're not changing someone's mind who doesn't already respect your opinion first. And no one's respecting your opinion first at first sight on Twitter. So if you see someone who's disagreeing with you or that you think is just fundamentally wrong, you're not going to be the one to change them. You could put them over. Though we had our first, I don't know, you call it a troll, hater? I don't know what you call it. But we had a really negative comment on one of our posts on Instagram. Oh, yeah. And producer comes over to me and she's like, rip them apart. What should I say? Let's cut a promo on them. She goes, what if I say this? And she goes, well, you're really good at talking shit, because I am.
I
She's
didn't
like,
say any of that.
All
no,
of it. Just,
no.
You were going ham on it. And you came out of the room like 4 times being like, well, I just want to say this. Or what if I said this thing? And I was like, I just don't understand why you haven't blocked him yet. And it was kind of like, what do you mean? And I was like, well,
at first I just couldn't believe someone would be a troll who's not like a child.
Yeah, and it's not like we have a ton of followers. How'd you find me to begin with to be mean?
It's so childish.
Yeah, so you found me to try and take a shot at me. Unbeknownst to you, I can't get embarrassed because my life is an embarrassment. So it didn't work.
Yeah,
so I told her, like, I don't know why you haven't blocked her. I was like, the thing is this, we could rip him apart and I could put together something pretty scathing that he can't come back from and maybe cut a mean promo on him and, quote, put him in his place. And I was like, well, then what happens? Is maybe he responds and maybe people see it. Maybe he gets popular. Maybe this is the one thing we do that everyone sees. Yep. Now that guy's got a voice. Where now he's talking into an echo chamber. And if we block him and remove it, he's done. He doesn't exist anymore. He's yelling at a wall. So,
like WWE,
social media is meant to be that.
Build your walls. Back to WWE real quick. WWE doesn't sell. That's a term we're using, brother. Wrestling terms. WWE doesn't sell the fact that people are saying, "Oh, your product sucks." No, they keep it moving on because they're using their social media to get their product over, whichever way it may be. Even though sometimes it's not over. That's not the point. But they're getting it over. So like you said, like why even sell this guy or girl that you said that was trying to go in on you like Lil Wayne? Why? Just let them do what they want to do. Who cares? You know what? That person may be an angry person somewhere and may have found your podcast, which I think is pretty good because I listen on Apple Podcasts and I suggest everybody else listens to, along with the Tristen Law Show.
Great.
And, of course. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. That's important.
Yeah.
But the thing, too, though, is that, if they want to go out there and be negative, hey, you know what? Be negative. You can be negative all you want at the Tristen Law Show. But just do me a favor, though. Thanks for following and retweet. That's it.
One of my favorite people to follow is Conrad Thompson.
I love Conrad. I actually messaged him today to talk about some business.
All right, well, tell him I said what's up.
Good.
Actually, you know what? I made a graphic that I said that I was like, I don't think I'll send it to you because you'll get a kick out of it, especially if you messaged him and he messages you back. I put out a graphic I made of him and me surrounded like a Hell in a Cell, but in like microphone and foam studio stuff.
Right,
And
right.
I made it in Hell in the Cell font. I put how in the hell. And I said, I don't think Conrad Thompson's busy enough. I think that he should do a podcast. I was like, hear me out. I'll host it. And I'll ask him how he walked ass backwards into the greatest wrestling fandom life of all time.
I'm telling you.
How he met them. And I was like, and we'll just take it from there. And he's like one of 3 people who liked it. So I was like, we're making moves. It's going to happen.
And you know, those are the cool things that need to happen on Twitter. Like, you know, the other day I put on Twitter, at the Real Big Tristen Twitter, I put on Twitter that, you know, I poured the cereal into the bowl and realized I didn't have any milk. Let me tell you, I was really mad. I was like hot for that. Like, I was ready just to be ill and just like kick a hole through the wall. But those are like, why do we have to spend so much time being negative on Twitter? That's why I don't use Facebook anymore. Because every time I want to go on Facebook, it's always somebody trying to spew some kind of propaganda or something crazy. That's why I primarily live on Instagram and Twitter. Because I can filter what I want to see. And when I don't want to see it anymore, I make it disappear.
It's just gone. It's so good, dude. I wish I had a mute and block button for my life.
Actually,
Now
you
that
do.
we're all working from home, it is.
Let me tell you, because I love wearing a mask. Let me tell you, if you're watching this right now, or you're listening to it in later on, and you know me, I apologize in advance because I utilize my mask to try to avoid people. So if I see people that I know that I really want to talk to, you know, I try to be somebody else, but it doesn't really work because I got this whole beard thing sticking out. But hopefully they don't know it's me. But, you know, yeah, I try to avoid people. So that's my
Masks. The masks have done a number for not recognizing people. I got a friend out here, no joke, 7'2", 350 pounds. I was looking at him wearing his mask at the new store. I hadn't seen him work out. I was like, is that him? Is that Big John? Dude, 7'2", 350 in the middle of the town that doesn't have anybody over 5 foot. And I'm looking, I'm like, is that him? And I'm looking at his tattoos. Like, do I recognize tattoos? Is that the same guy? Could it be a different, enormous, big show looking dude in my town?
Oh.
Like, of course it was him, but there was a moment where I was all like, John? It's like, how messed up are the masks that I see someone that's essentially Andre the Giant, and I'm all like, is it?
Yeah, the masks are great because now we've got just more wrestling merch, essentially.
Yeah, I love it. Producer says I got too many wrestling t-shirts, and I was like, but I don't have very many wrestling masks, so.
Something. COVID has made a whole entire brand new industry when it comes to masks. Like masks, from what I understand, because I watch a lot of YouTube, masks are like really popular in Asia, in the Asian countries, and they wear the mask just to wear the masks because from what I understand, I'm not trying to be rude, but from what I understand from watching YouTube videos, they have a lot of susceptibilities to different viruses floating around, and they want to keep themselves healthy. But now I bought a mask to go to the gym that has a smiley face on it because the choice I had weren't great. They had a red one. I was like, well, I don't want to walk in and making people think I'm blood. And they had a blue one. I didn't want to make people think I'm drip. Hey, give me the smiley face on. So,
I think Marsh just finished the Jameson bottle here.
oh yeah, give him a refill.
I'm gonna do it.
You need a refill.
Actually,
it's episode 1. You got a party.
You can't have
That's
my
right.
bottle.
No,
This
I can't
stuff's
have
so
your
good.
bottle.
We had to have separate bottles.
Yeah, this one is one of my favorites, and she likes it a lot. So she's like, I'm buying 2 bottles, and you can't touch one. And I was like, fine.
So is your
About
bartender?
3.
Is your producer always also a bartender? Or do you have a separate bartender that just comes up and goes, Mr. Marsh, would you like a drink, sir?
Well, we have a rack right here next to the table of all of our bottles of liquor. So if I run out, I just go, well, let's see what we got.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's essentially a little wet bar that's
Yeah.
right next to him.
Just a wet bar right here. Got to put it on set just in case. Matter of fact, we have a little, what's it called? Physics. It's a little growler tap. So I could actually put this here and pour beers off tap right here from the set too. So you gotta have it working.
Hey, but you know the best part? The best part, though, is if you get a little bit too trash, you just know, just don't do it for the second episode. But every episode is the first episode. It's all right. You'll figure it out.
By episode 2, we'll be done with all that. That's childish stuff.
And
By
the belt we got-
episode 3, you'll be drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
the belt we have on the table right behind it is a little ice.
Yeah, I got a little ice chest
chest
back here behind my Bailey belt. All right. So, I think that was good stuff as far as the news goes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Ready to get into it? Did you put together any kind of a tops and bottoms list?
No, because I want to follow your path, but I can freestyle because I like to freestyle because I'm from the Bronx. That's where rap music came from. So I could do that.
That makes sense. I lived in Bushwick for like 5 years, and I feel like I know more about electronic stuff than I ever knew before.
I was Ridgewood. That's technically Queens. I was Ridgewood and Bensonhurst.
Okay.
Hoist.
What was the name of
Benson Hoist.
What was the name of the opera singer that you talked about? The one that we watched the other day?
Oh, that was someone from.
What's his name? Klaus?
Yeah, Nomi.
Klaus Nomi?
Yeah.
Or Nomi Klaus?
Klaus Nomi.
Klaus Nomi. I think when I went to Bushwick, I was expecting stuff like Klaus Nomi and expecting like some really like crazy stuff. And what I ended up getting was like, after being there a year or two, I was like, oh, that's where Taylor Swift got her new sound. It was just out. Yeah, she does sound more Brooklyn now than ever. So Bushwick's different, man.
Hey, I'm telling you,
yeah.
Brooklyn is undergoing a regentrification, so it's not like it used to be. So there's a lot of
I wasn't on the line. I wasn't living on the line of Williamsburg. I was deep in Bushwick to the point where I remember walking down the street when I first got there, and some girl just pulled me aside and she goes, "What's crazy is 5 years ago you'd have been shot by now." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What's crazy is you told me that."
So I would have asked her, so is this like a warning? Are you trying to rob me? Like, what do you want? You need my wallet or something?
Yeah. What's happening next? Am I supposed to take you out now? Like, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, I know what happened. It's that same girl, you're a producer.
Yeah, he's a producer. No, she's from Coney.
Oh, yeah, that's the hood.
Yeah,
I love Coney.
She was always in Coney Island. She's like, "Did you want to meet up? I'm just going to be in a parade or something this weekend if you want to come down." Like, what? I'll be a bright purple mermaid. It's not a big deal. If you want to come down, it's cool. If not, it's cool. And I was like, what? So.
But every day a woman asks you to come to see her in a mermaid costume. Dude, you better go. I'm glad you were the fastest thing on 2 feet.
Yeah. I did a Gumby style. We're just 1 foot up straight into the subway. Let's see.
I miss all the pizza.
Oh, yeah. We talk about that on my D&D nights because everyone in my D&D game is either from Arizona or Jersey, and we talk about pizza almost every week. Like, God. Remember that mashed potato pizza from right up the street, OMG Pizza? They had it nailed right on the head. It was absolutely OMG.
I feel like she's about to start yelling at us.
She is.
Yeah, we should. Does she ever yell? Oh, she's yelling.
No, she gives me looks. You can't see them.
Well, because what's going to happen is he's going to be like, "Man, I wanted it to be this amount of time, and we went over." I'll be like, "Well, I was trying to tell you, but..."
Yeah, but she said it like aggressively. So if you want to pick up your Pointless Aggression t-shirts, they're WrestlingNarcs.com. Yeah. She's really good about not yelling. She mutes her mic. She does hand motions, eye glares. She gives a whole lot of shrugs of "you did it to yourself" kind of attitude stuff, but
Well, she's good. At least she's not doing you like the Emmys or like an award show. The show is over.
Just slowly playing the Fiend's theme louder and louder. Be like, I gotta go.
That's it. Just edging it up and you just listen to it. Oh, is that my time? Damn it.
Or just suddenly all of a sudden hear the outro music. Like, what was that? No, that was a mid-sentence. Yeah, well, the show's done now. What? Let's see. So, I mean, if you didn't have a top or bottom necessarily, I'm trying to think if I had anything that was like...
How about you?
I didn't have much...
How about you give your top and bottom, and I tell you whether I agree or disagree with your top or bottom.
Rapid fire, though. I'm like, this was awful. You're like, wrong. Next. Like,
you know what? I will promise to be nice, and I will not slay you if I think, because I wouldn't. The listeners and the watchers that are watching us right now live on Twitch.tv, they would also want to know as well too why you feel the way that you feel, and I'm going to uncover that for them. So, Marsh, whenever you are ready, you are the host. I am the follower.
Let's see. Well, let's get into this. Did you watch all the shows? Did you watch NXT, AEW, All Out, Raw, and SmackDown?
Wow. I mean, that's a lot of wrestling. I believed I did. It's probably more yes than no. So let's freestyle. I'm a freestyle. Don't worry. I'm a wrestler. I'll make you believe that I did, even though I didn't. Brother, it's a work.
Gotcha. Did you watch the NXT with the Fatal 4-Way, Finn Balor, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, and Gargano?
Of course I did. Great match. Solid match. Five stars in Dave Meltzer's book. Took place in the Tokyo.
It felt very Tokyo to me. This was 100%. I don't know. Maybe this was 60%. I felt like watching this match was like watching Sonic the Hedgehog, the video game.
Explain.
It was everywhere. I couldn't keep up with it. There was just so much stuff happening that I didn't have time to understand what was happening. If you ever played Sonic, you end up getting hit on stuff, and then it just shoots you out. You end up in some pipe. It shoots you the other direction, but then you're back over here, and now your shoes are a different color, and you're like, I don't know why I just lost all my rings, but I've lost them all.
Good point.
Like, it was, to me, a little too fast. But I thought that the guys who were in there was incredible.
How'd you feel about the finish?
I wasn't bothered. I know a lot of people were really upset about the idea of like, I watched an hour match to not have a champion. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's wrestling. We do that a lot.
But you see, for me, it wasn't the fact that we watched a whole hour of wrestling to not get a definitive finish. For me, the issue with that whole entire four-way match was that they went through the whole four-way match to tell me that because of the result of the four-way match, because two people tied, we're going to get a singles match next week. Here's what should have happened, in my opinion. They should have continued the match. Yeah. And then, knowing that we were short on TV, they should have cut it. They should have cut
it next week?
Not put on the WWE Network. Hey, if you want to see what's happening in this match, go to the WWE Network. Oh my God, that match is so good. I'm only watching the WWE Network for free. Maybe I paid $9.99 because the first month is no longer free. So I can watch it. So now you can get your subscriptions up like that. And then you come back next week talking about, oh my God, we got a new NXT champion because of this and that. And they show the stills instead of showing the live action shots. If you really want to see it, you go to the WWE Network. You can't get mad because it cut off and went to the WWE Network because they control what happens on the WWE Network. I hated it. Yeah. And I hate the fact that we're going to go into Wednesday night, which is tomorrow. No, that's tonight, actually.
Actually, Tuesday. It's Super Tuesday. It's Super Tuesday tonight. It's happening. I think we might even have a champion if you want me to spoil it for everyone who's watching.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe don't spoil it for everybody because they might be like, I'm never looking at this show again because I'm going to get spoilers. But I wasn't a fan of the match for that. I felt like they could have done so much more with that, and they should have given us a definitive winner last week, or just be different about it. Yep, just cut it. Right when that last pinfall is getting ready to happen, the TV show goes off, and we're like, what? We don't know what happened. We don't know who won. We don't know what happened. Hey, tune into the work to watch.
For me, because see, for me, the big downer watching it was that Adam Cole was going to be in another match. I'm not an Adam Cole fan. I understand how he has all the respect he has. I understand all the people who love him. I also understand that I've never seen a second Adam Cole match where every episode here is episode 1. Every match for him is the same main event match every time. I don't feel like that he even does things in a different sequence. I feel like it's very, very predictable and you can walk right through it. And it's just, for me, I'm not swooning over him. I understand that a lot of people really like him, and I'm not trying to knock him down. I understand he's a top-level athlete. The match he put on with Pat McAfee I thought actually was incredible because he sold story, not necessarily even like the idea of moves, but his facial expressions, his reactions to Pat, I thought was the best I'd ever seen him. But this was, again, just back at Adam Cole in his regular element. And so for me, watching Adam Cole and Finn Balor doesn't excite me.
Right.
But Finn Balor with like a Ciampa or even a Gargano, and even with Gargano, I feel like he does too much as far as the Sonic the Hedgehog stuff goes. I do feel like I'd be more interested in seeing Balor against one of them because I don't always know how that's going to go. Where with Adam Cole, I feel like Adam Cole does his one match.
But you know what the easy out that they would have got because of Karrion Kross getting hurt? Just give the belt back to the same person that had it before. Just give it back to Keith Lee, but they booked themselves into a corner because Keith Lee was already going on Raw. So maybe Keith Lee he gets, then again, how could you put the belt back on Keith Lee? I'm thinking about it now. I'm live booking in my head. How could you put the belt back on Keith Lee? Because then Keith Lee would have to get beat again just to go back to Raw. So that's going to diminish Keith Lee's worth when he goes back. Damn, I don't know what they could have done. I
think honestly was half the problem with Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger. Both of those guys got called up to the main roster, had really good showings, but had unfinished business in NXT, went back down there to put over the NXT talent because now they're main event talent, putting over the young guys to show that NXT was something worth watching, and then they came back tainted. To me, as someone who watched all of it, I was like, well, I just saw you lose to a dude you couldn't do it before. Like, it was just really weird, and I feel like that completely got in their way. So I wouldn't want them to I don't want Keith Lee to have unfinished business.
Right. Good point. He did what he had to do, and he left. But technically, does Keith Lee have unfinished business? Like, you're not. I mean, maybe he does have unfinished business, because you're not going to take the championship from me. And now you got these 4 guys down there fighting for it. Nah, come give me back my belt, because you know what? If this guy can't defend the belt's mine to begin with. Give me my belt, and if you don't like it, I'm going to rearrange your furniture. Sorry.
I mean, to see a mean Keith Lee, I'm always down for. I like Keith Lee when he gets mad and angry. Right when he was leaving NXT, I was like, this is my Keith Lee. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as he got to roster, he was back. Greetings and salutations. And I was like, we got Frazier back.
Yeah, right?
I mean, it's all right, but it's like, I can't wait for him to get mad again. Yeah. Keith Lee cutting a promo on Niles is what it came off as. So, but I mean, overall, I just thought we should talk about it because a lot of people were really upset by it. I felt like, hey, Finn Balor versus Adam Cole is probably something they were trying to get to before they ended up with Karrion Kross and Keith Lee doing their thing. I think it was the match that everyone said they wanted when he first got to NXT, Balor. So, I mean, I get it. I get why they do that. And I think that with those 4 people, by having a match the way they did it, you also plot out a reason why each of those guys could be a contender for the next couple months anyways. You've now built easily 4 months worth of TV while you wait to see if Karrion Kross can come back.
Good point.
So I think that they did it in a good way as far as that goes. Plus, while Adam Cole and I guess Ciampa and Gargano can't fight anymore, right? That's their deal. Well,
yeah, I guess I don't know.
They'll do stuff. See, that's another reason why you keep Adam Cole out of it. Have Adam Cole and Ciampa battle it out a little bit, because we've already seen a ton of Cole and Gargano. Have Gargano and Balor, and while they're doing their thing, you have Ciampa and Cole, and then you have Balor just do a circle around all of them. And then by the time he's done with all that, Cross is back, and it's, TikTok, motherfucker, you messed up. You took my belt.
That's right. I want my belt back, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about all I had to say about that NXT match, though. I did like it being... I do like it on Tuesdays more than I thought I would. I know that there's a lot of discussion about splitting up Wednesdays to have AEW versus NXT on a Tuesday. What do you think about that?
I mean, look, I always said that NXT did the right thing by going live on Wednesday nights head to head with NXT, because I'm not going to run a hot dog stand and allow you to build a hot dog stand right in front of mine. I'm not. And saying, what days are you open? I'm going to be open opposite times from you. No, I'm going to go ahead and try to fight it. But clearly, AEW, and let me tell you, I'm a WWE guy through and through, because for those of you guys that don't know, the way it worked when I was a kid, back in the 90s, right? Because I'm an 80s baby. Yeah. Growing up in the Northeast in New York, I was exposed to WWE. That's what I watched, WWF. WCW was something secondary that I got to watch when we got cable. And I love WWE, but I appreciate AEW more than NXT because of the differences that I get. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that NXT, Raw, or SmackDown, or 205 Live, or any of the other WWE programming give bad matches. I don't think there's ever a match where I'm like, I don't think those people need to have a job anymore. But just sometimes it's just that, what happens in AEW is a little bit more compelling, because we have, I think AEW has this new feel to it, because, we still don't really know what we have. I think AEW is still trying to find out who they are. And when they do find out who they are, they're going to go ahead and hit a home run. We do have in AEW, the older guys, the more experienced guys, tenured guys and girls, they're trying to further the future of the business. Like, for example, AEW, I'm telling you, MJF, he's the future of the company. Jungle Boy, future of the company. Sammy Guevara, if he can go ahead and not tell people crazy things on their podcast, he's the future of the company.
Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky breaks away from SCU, and I think he should always have a connect to them, but I think he should break away. He's the first guy I saw on Double or Nothing or whatever.
Right.
I think it was Double or Nothing that I was really watching, and I was like, oh, that guy's a star.
Right.
Like, this is a big deal guy. And then he's just not on TV all the time. And I'm like, what happened to your guys' biggest star you didn't realize you had?
The thing, too, as well, like QT Marshall. I went to wrestling school with QT Marshall. We both went to Team 3D Academy. That was after he got his initial training. And then he decided to go to one of the Harvard of professional wrestling schools, Team 3 Academy. Shout out to Bubba and Devon. And he went there. And QT Marshall, I even got the opportunity to wrestle him in Jersey back in maybe 2013, 12, something like that, here and over there. And the guy's good. The guy's worked for NXT. He's done extra work for the WWE. He's done movies. He was in a movie with The Rock. I can't remember which movie it was. You know, the guy's done a lot of things to go ahead and get his name out there. He's wrestled for Ring of Honor. He's wrestled for Impact. And you know what? I think he's really the one that got away, that they didn't have a place or a box to put him in. So AEW got away.
He's the head trainer for AEW, right?
Yes, because he runs the school in Atlanta with
I got a buddy who was in that school, and when he first said he was going there, I was like, it's really cool for me to hear that you said that he went to 3D, because that makes a ton of sense now. Because when he first told me he was going there, he turned down Black and Brave. He got accepted to go be trained by Seth Rollins.
Right.
And I was like, dude, crazy, go do that. But this kid, super obsessed with, I mean, in a good way, with Cody, goes to StarCast and sees Cody and meets Cody and talks to him a couple times, goes, oh, I'm going to get into Black and Brave. And he goes, okay, cool. And he's like, oh, Seth's a really great person and great wrestler and all that. And then at some point he saw him a second time, and Cody said something like, how about instead of going there, you come check out QT school, because I think it'd be good for you. And so the kid signed up for that, because he's like, well, if Cody says it, I'm going to do it. And you're like, okay. When he first told me that, I was like, I don't know a lot about QT, but I've seen a lot of what AEW's putting out there, and I just don't know the kind of fundamentals they're going to be teaching you. So as he's been telling me more and more about stuff he's learning and the classes he's learning and stuff, I'm like, I kind of like prod at him a little bit. I was like, what'd they say about like your moveset or this or that? And he's like, oh, they said to, do this and tell the story here. And, oh, no one wrestles this way, but I want to do more of this. And I'm really impressed, thinking like, this sounds like an old school mentality in that wrestling school, which is to me slightly surprising based off of such the new wave of stuff we're seeing in their product. But it's really cool for me to hear that he actually trained with Bubba and Devon, because then that makes a ton of sense. It's exactly the wisdom he's putting onto that next generation is what he learned there, because that's what I'm hearing from the other side. It's tremendous.
You know what's funny? There's a lot of people that went to Team 3D that are actually in AEW right now that were there at the time that I was there. And I'm not trying to I just want to say, I'm not trying to put myself over to make people say, oh my God, like, whatever. I'm not on TV for my own specific reasons, but my time is coming. You guys need to wait. But for example, the female librarian, she's a Team 3D. Leva Bates, Team 3D. You got Serpentico. He's a Team 3D guy. Okay, shout out to him. This they had John Cruz on there. He used to tag with Serpentico back in the day. And John Cruz is one of the head trainers. I believe that Serpentico is one of the trainers as well too for Devon Dudley Academy, which is a version of the Team 3D Academy in Florida, because Bubba does his now in Connecticut. So like there's so many opportunities that are created by AEW for people that probably didn't fit in elsewhere, and because of AEW they fit in. And going way off topic, let me bring it back on topic. I like to watch AEW more than NXT because it's different.
It is. Oh well, in a way it's definitely different than NXT, that's for sure.
Right.
I do feel like that it's not that far removed from typical WWE, but it is different in its own way. I do feel that NXT is really WWE's answer to the indies. How do we have a big style indie show? And I feel that's what we get with NXT. It's really like indie heavy style stuff, where I feel like they're also teaching those dudes the fundamentals of WWE level stuff, which is not to say it's at a higher level. It's just a different type. So I feel like with AEW, it's in a lot of respects, I feel like it's just a big indie show. I feel like NXT is WWE trying to highlight what's available in the indies in its own way. Here's top level indie stuff.
But the thing too is that NXT and AEW, not so much NXT. I'm never going to put NXT in that box. I'm going to put half of them in that box because they have that WWE marketing machine behind them. But AEW is in the same exact spot that Impact Wrestling should be right now.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Ring of Honor should be. Ring of Honor is not even a contender at all because they don't have live TV. It's not shown everywhere. That's the issue right now. Even though Impact, you can't watch Impact live, and let me tell you, Impact is good. Impact's picked up. I bought my first Impact pay-per-view Slammiversary, when was it, a month ago? And it was good. You know, ever. I used to go to a lot of TNA pay-per-views back in the day when I lived in Orlando because of my Mark brother. I love wrestling. Look at that Mark over there. You know, but I like that what Impact is doing now. But Ring of Honor, they totally poo-pooed the bed. What did somebody tell me today? You don't put Baby in the corner, and they've put Baby in the corner, and they're not doing a great job at what they're doing in Ring of Honor. Shout out to the people that I know that work there. You know, maybe they let some people go that they shouldn't have let go. But I mean, why is Ring of Honor not included in the conversation?
Well, I think potentially a couple, like, without getting too far into it, I think a couple things you got to take into account is Ring of Honor built their entire company around the Elite, who ducked out right before their biggest show for a self-interest, which I get, but that destroyed Ring of Honor. The Elite jumping to AEW and not showing up for the MSG show, which was sold on the backs of the Elite, is what crushed Ring of Honor. And I think that the Elite knew what they were doing when they did it. I think they 100% did it knowingly and purposefully. And to me, I got a little bit of come on, guys, is this who you are? You know, I got a little bit of a chip towards that, but I don't think about it a lot. But I think 100% Ring of Honor would be probably on a larger network if the Elite showed up to MSG and played through with what was planned and actually put on a big show. I think that show would have been the All In that All In ended up being, right? The other thing is I'm actually super excited from a different level that Marty Scurll was involved. I know there's a bunch of weird stuff going on with all that, but the dude is super good at what he does. And I was really excited to see what he would do with the villain character and the villain Enterprises character with having a pen a little bit, because I think something he might not be afraid to do, which it seems like the Elite is afraid to do, is put themselves over to make sure that you have someone over enough to put others over, right? Dusty Rhodes could put over somebody because he booked himself as the top spot for so long because he could get those people there. Well, the Elite shows up and they said, we're going to prove that we're not too big to put people over, and we're going to spend the whole first year losing all of our matches. And like, okay, well, are you even over enough to put someone over at this point? We haven't seen enough as a public who doesn't know you. You know what I mean? Right. So a win against the Young Bucks or Cody doesn't mean as much anymore. I think Scurll doesn't have that fear. I think he goes, yeah, you're going to have to earn a win against me, but when you do, it's going to be like, holy shit, that's like the owner of the company and you just went over. You know?
But the thing, too, though, is that, let's go back real quick to the point that you made. You made a very solid point about Ring of Honor getting the short end of the stick when all these guys, when the Elite left. Let's go back now to a conversation that we had earlier tonight. WWE does not want to be in that same exact predicament to where anybody's bigger than the brand. Because when they leave, somebody leaves, they get screwed. And I'm not sure if I could say that here. If I couldn't, I apologize. Just give me a free pass. We'll keep going. But then again, back to Marty Scurll. The problem with the thing with Marty Scurll is that I used to book for a company before, and it was so easy to put the belt on myself. So easy. And didn't want to do that. AEW's on a much bigger scale. The second that, you know, Cody and everybody would start putting the belts on themselves, people would say, oh, look, they just made a promotion to get themselves over. So, like, granted, Cody's already over to an extent. Let me rephrase that. Sorry, Cody, if you're watching. Cody's over. The Bucks are over. Hangman is over. Kenny Omega's over. So they're over, but they're not WWE over. But you can still utilize them to build up people like Joey Janela, Sonny Kiss.
But I feel like they actually dropped the ball. I know that they felt like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I feel like by the Young Bucks coming in with a losing record and then getting a title shot because they're, quote, the best tag team in the world. I know a lot of people who tuned into AEW who had not seen New Japan anything. Right. Really looking forward to see the greatest wrestler in the world, Kenny Omega, though I was second row at Royal Rumble. I was able to score my buddy also second row tickets on the other side. So he went. Or fourth row, I think. Something. He was on the other side of the ring. We're both like front row at Rumble. We're like, who do you want to show up? Who do you think needs to be here? And it was like, not even a question, everybody. If Kenny Omega popped up in here, that would be game changing. This guy's the best in the world if he showed up to WWE. And I was like, yeah, but there's all this stuff with All Elite. And you're like, okay, yeah, that could be happening. But if he did, that would be massive. And he didn't. But here's a guy who'd never seen him wrestle, but knew enough about him and heard enough about him. And he said, I want him here.
Right.
Then he shows up on this other show. Goes, I'm going to watch him because I can't wait to see what this guy does. He goes, oh, this guy loses a lot. And he's not seemingly all that great. Like, he's having mediocre matches. And it's like, I understand that if you put yourself over for the long haul, it's going to look like a vanity project.
Right.
But if you're going to go in there and say that beating us means something because we're the best in the world, but we don't see you win, it also comes off as really confusing, and you come off as kind of an idiot. You know?
Yeah.
Every time the Young Bucks talk, I go, these are the stupidest people in the business. They should shut up. Because everything they say contradicts everything I've seen.
The thing too that to even think about as well too is that traditionally, if you were talking about something else, Marsh, I would totally disagree with what you said, because I would say that wins and losses don't matter in professional wrestling as long as one person goes over and one person gets over, right? Yes. But in AEW, you can't use that same conversation because they're keeping track of who wins or loses. So it's blatantly in your face every week who won and who lost. So you can't say that. So it's pretty much one person went over and one person now has a negative mark on their record.
Yeah. And then when the Young Bucks went into their first title shot match, they had the worst record in the company. And it was all like, why should we even think you have a chance? Because we're the best in the business, and JR says so. Okay. A couple weeks back, do you watch AEW every week?
I try to, yes. Sometimes,
okay.
Yeah.
So you catch it most of the time. Did you catch the one where Rock and Roll Express and Tully and Arn came out?
No, I did not catch that one.
That whole segment felt and looked like a expensive cameo. It felt like, hey, can we pay these guys to come out and put us over? And they're all like, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we love money. We'll put you over.
Good thing
the whole segment felt that way.
WWE. If they worked for the WWE, they'd have to cut that out right now. Oh, look at that.
That's true. Well, yeah. The whole segment's gone.
Damn, that was a man. My pregnant pause didn't go so good, did it? Well, wins or losses, right? MJF had a spectacular career, a spectacular record in AEW. But Mr. Brody Lee comes in first match. He's wrestling Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship at Double or Nothing. Why?
I think there's a signing bonus for being in a world title match.
Oh, it's a shoot to them. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. It's, hey, if you sign with us, we'll give you a world title match. You're going to lose it. It's not a big deal. We just got to put over the next guy. But, like, you get a world title match if you come through. That way we prove that you're world title material. Then we're going to go ahead and throw you back down to the bottom of the roster.
Fair enough. Okay, that makes sense. I'm back.
You do that with everybody who comes through, man. I'm like, come on. I would have really liked to see some shock factor going on. The most shocking thing I think that they've ever done so far, I mean, apart from this horrible thing that happened at All Out, was I think Brody getting such a definitive win over Cody. But the problem with it was still not that not that big of a shock, because Cody has a really hard time winning matches, and they've established that week after week that anyone from the Indies can come in and take Cody 20 minutes.
Right.
And he barely wins. You go,
right.
Oh, what's going to happen when he's up against a former Intercontinental Champion? Oh, right. He doesn't stand a chance against one of them. And I go, okay. So that was my only complaint about a few of the big matches Cody had. Like, honestly, the Sonny Kiss match I thought was good, and the only problem with it was it wasn't going to matter like it should have, because Cody put everyone over the same way. Right.
I see your point. I can't even agree with that. I mean, I can't even disagree. Sorry, I can't even disagree. I see your point.
But let's talk a little bit about All Out. Did you watch it?
I did watch All Out. I did. I think, me personally, if you want to ask me what I thought overall, I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I did think that it was a little bit too long, but I did have some opinions on some of the matches. But, you know, you're the host. I'm just here. I'm following you, brother.
Dude, I thought it was a bad pay-per-view with some great matches.
Okay.
I thought if you spanned out a little bit from beginning to end, this was a horrible event that happened in the history of AEW. But there was a couple of little shining lights inside of it, is how I looked at it when I finally stepped back and thought about it.
So I like to relate everything to food because I love food. If you know me, I love food.
I've heard of it.
But the thing though is that you cannot go to a buffet, Marsh, and like everything. However, you can go to a restaurant and everything sucks, but then you get to dessert, and dessert is great. So like there were some duds in this show. I definitely think that AEW should not have opened with the tooth and nail match, Big Swole and Britt Baker. Let me tell you, that 10 minutes is 10 minutes I can't get back. I think that they should have probably flip-flopped the first match or the second match. Give us the Young Bucks versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and then give us that match. Or, give us two matches okay, cool. Because the first match, people that are watching understand this. There are two important matches on every wrestling show. When you watch WWE, here's the important match. The first match. It's the first word in the sentence, right? And what that does is that sets the tone for the entire night. If the first match
is your welcome to the show.
Exactly. If the first match sucks, you're like, wow, well, if that sucks, what else do they have to give you? And then the last match is the, hey, thanks for coming. We appreciate you, and we can't wait to see you next time because we gave you such a great match. So I feel that AEW All Out didn't properly set the tone with that Big Swole and Britt Baker match.
I understand 100% why it was supposed to be on the kickoff show.
I agree.
However, I don't understand. So one of my ongoing comments on here is that Tony Khan's a coward, which stemmed from me just making fun of a buddy of mine, just calling him a coward. I've no idea. I don't know the guy. But it's just this ongoing joke of, if Tony Khan wasn't a coward, he'd put the belt on MJF right now. But then I also take it to WWE. I go, well, Roman's going to lose unless Tony Khan's a coward. You know what I mean? Like, he has no impact there, obviously. But watching this whole pay-per-view, it was really like, does Tony Khan have no ability to tell people no or to admit if something's bad? And something that Tony Khan did in his media call, which I went ahead and listened to the whole thing because I'm a hack wrestling journalist, like my hero, Sam Roberts, my goddamn role model. And he said in there that the reason he was putting it on the pre-show and he wasn't going to budge and he wanted it on the pre-show because he said, this is what's going to introduce people to what we have to offer. This is what's going to get people excited about the pay-per-view. This is what's going to create buys.
Right.
And then you watch it and you go, oh, what? Like, this was your selling point? This was your picture on the menu? Like, I understand why they would say, let's put it on the free TV and kind of get it out of the way where not a lot of people are watching.
Right.
But the producer brought up a really good point after we watched it. She went, that was pre-taped. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
They could have redone all that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, like our show is not pre anything. We go live and this is what we got. Like,
Yeah. We're live, pal.
if
That's right.
if we were like edited, polished show, it would look much different.
Yeah, it'd probably be good.
It probably would be our first show.
Yeah, if we did editing at all, we'd have made it to episode 2 by now. But we don't.
Hey, well, you know what? Hey, every time, first time, it's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I do feel like that there was a huge stinker on the show by starting it that way. And here's the thing. I also understand that, like, dessert can be good, and you get these, like, you call them duds. I feel like, do you know who No. What? Kylo Riley. Oh. Not Kyle O'Reilly, but the band Kylo Riley, which has always caused an issue for me for having a Kyle O'Reilly in Undisputed Era. It's always tripped me out. There's a band, and in the song there's a lyric, the lows are so extreme that the good seems fucking cheap. And I felt like All Out, the lows were so extreme that the good felt fucking cheap. The duds were beyond just bad. It was like, what am I doing with my time? And I felt like Tooth and Nail was horrible, and I didn't even think about that as an awful thing. I just thought, what a horrible way to start a pay-per-view. But then it gets into stuff, and yeah, Young Bucks and the Lucha Express, they do their thing, and it's a Young Bucks match, so a lot of cool stuff happens in it, but the match doesn't make a ton of sense. But you just go, okay, that was exciting. Yeah, ooh, excitement. Dude, Darby takes that body bag bump. fuck, dude. Here's the thing about that bump. When Darby said I want to do that, people. Oh, Grim Reaper's in here. Hey, Grim Reaper, what's up? If you guys want to be part of the show, just jump in our chat. Happy Tuesday, raw and unedited is the way to go. Oh, yeah, that's just our way. Darby does this crazy bump, and you know it's because people are going to talk about this bump. We're going to do the nastiest, most dangerous bump, which no one should do, and it's irresponsible, and people are going to talk about it. So much other stuff happened horribly wrong in this show that no one talked about that bump, and I felt so bad for Darby.
Let me tell you something. Go ahead, Pro.
Sorry. For a second, when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Jackass.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kept getting flashbacks of, oh, I remember when Jackass was hip.
Yeah,
and that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tristan.
You see, my whole thing too is that, from a wrestling point of view, that's like that's not a bump I want to take because I can't see where I'm going. I don't know if he tossed him leg first or head first. I don't know. I don't understand the purpose of the body bag because the thing that I hated about the body bag the most was that he was putting himself in the body bag. If you watch it again, he was putting himself in the body bag. If you want me in the body bag, put me in the body bag. It's so pretty much what they said was, hey, hold on, brother. Let me go ahead and put myself in here to help you out. So for me, I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of that at all. I was talking about that on another video podcast that I was on a couple weeks ago. I don't
know that there are other ones. I think we're the only one at this point.
Well, I mean, you're the only one in their first episode. I'll tell you that. I love it. I love that I'm here. Shout out to you guys for having me and reaching out to me on Twitter. But the thing too is that I hate when wrestlers, and that includes me, because I think about stuff that I do and how I cannot do this. But I hate when wrestlers insult the intelligence of the people that pay their money. Yes, it's 2020, and we know exactly what professional wrestling is. However, if we go to a Simon and Garfunkel, is that a musician? I don't know what that is.
You're thinking of Penn and Teller.
Okay, if we go to Penn and Teller, there you go. See, that's why you're the host. If we go to a Penn and Teller magic show, right? We go to Penn and Teller magic show. We don't want to know how the tricks are done. When you're watching that new, X-Men movie that's coming out, or the Avengers movie that's coming out, you don't want to know. You don't want to watch the behind the scenes and the movie at the same time. Give me the movie. I don't care about the behind the scenes. I don't care about how the trick is done. But in professional wrestling, we're just showing people, hey, well, let me go ahead and just put myself in the body bag because it's the next spot that we're supposed to do because it's going to look cool and I want to get myself over. Hey,
sometimes
you know what?
I call AEW the Saved by the Bell of wrestling because Zach Morris is always like, time out, and talks to the camera.
I will say that Darby Allin probably has made more money than I've ever seen in professional wrestling, so I give him that. But I can say rightfully, with the amount of time that I've spent in professional wrestling, that I don't like when people disrespect or disregard the intelligence of the people that spent their hard-earned money. Because again, people go through a lot of crap to go ahead and pay money to watch that AEW pay-per-view. It's $59. It's $49. $49
on our show.
For some people, that's a half a day's worth of pay in order for them to go there. You know what I mean? I mean, to watch it. So, let's not disrespect people's intelligence. But I got more on the show, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to follow and just let you go.
We haven't skipped over some of it yet, have we?
No. We're doing great.
Okay. I do feel like that was as far as the Battle Royal goes, there was that, and there was Matt Sydal, who came out like the Shockmaster. And I felt bad for him for a second. Oh, a couple seconds, because I went, holy crap, if that guy had landed differently, he would have landed on his neck.
Yep,
he lands on his butt, and he rolls over onto his neck and rolls back over again. I don't feel as bad. I know there's people online being like, hey, stop making fun of him. He could have got seriously injured. Yeah, but he was also nowhere near being injured. Had he over-rotated, he would have been. Same with Foley. If Foley went through the Hell in a Cell and had gotten his legs up, instead of just falling back like he did, he would have over-rotated and we wouldn't be still watching the match.
There had only been one Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, they would have never done it again.
That's right.
At the end of the day, we can go back and rewatch it and say, holy shit, that was insane. In this instance, Sydal had the most embarrassing sunset flip or not sunset flip. What do they call that one? Shooting star press.
Yes.
But here's the thing: is everyone does that. You're in a company where people do that as a mid. I mean, Sammy Guevara does it 4 times in a match. Like it's just everywhere. So it's also like, is it really that impressive to do another thing everyone does? If you run into a Canadian destroyer, I'm going to be like, oh my God. When the Rock and Roll Express did a Canadian destroyer on NWA TV, you're like, holy shit. Because no one was doing it in NWA, and the first person who did is 109 years old.
Combined.
Like, wow. But here comes Matt Sydal to do a move that everybody else does all the time, which is unnecessarily dangerous in its own right. And who was, after Brock broke his neck, I forget, I think it was Bruce had said it on the show. Or maybe it was actually the Steiner brothers. No. Guys, look, I'm a bottle in.
It's all right. Do your thing, man. Just keep taking that.
The Rockers. When the Rockers did that move to basically the Ziggler knee drop on the guy's neck.
Right.
When they did that to the guy who took the bump backwards, and so he landed on his neck and broke his neck.
Right.
After that, they said if you can't do it 10 or 15 times in a row without messing it up, you're not coming in the ring anymore. I feel like my understanding is Sydal's always done the move correctly. He's never actually missed it. That was the only time he's ever missed it. But there was part of me that thought, you're doing a move that everyone else is doing to be flashy that wouldn't have been as impressive as you want it to be, and you landed on your butt, and it feels really Shockmaster to me, and I really hope you come back to do some good stuff because I know you can.
I think Matt Sydal coming out and doing the come on, I'm only a half a gallon in. What's the name of the move?
Shooting Star.
That's right. Thank you. See, that's where you're the host. Matt Sydal coming in and doing the Shooting Star press was more like going to a Michael Jackson Circus Soleil and getting Thriller. You know, that's what you needed. Yeah. You know, you showed up for Thriller. And if you don't get Thriller, you feel like you get shortchanged. So, you know, Matt Sydal had to do the Shooting Star press because that's what people expected him to do because that's what we know him for. But the thing, too, though, is like, man, they're sitting out there in Florida. There's probably humidity going around. There's probably people sweating. People are on the turnbuckles. So he probably slipped on some sweat. So I'm glad 100% that he landed in the ring and not out the ring because there's some of us that don't have the courage to stand on the top rope. I used to do it. When I did it one time, I almost fell, and I just jumped, and I landed the move still. Thank you, God, by the praise of Jesus, I'm still here, and I didn't hurt myself, but I feel bad for Matt Sydal coming out to AEW for the first. I'll stop. I'm done.
Yeah, I think for his intro to man, and here's the other thing that made me sad about Darby. It's like, man, Darby, you took that for one injury angle because JR and Tony Schiavone are like, oh my God, I think he's hurt. Darby Allin is seriously hurt. He took a bump in a body bag, and that is dangerous. And then Sydal comes out, lands on his ass, and everyone goes, ah!
The best part though about Darby Allin taking that spot in the body bag. I'm not even going to say it. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. We're going to move on. Keep going.
Didn't they pour thumbtacks in there too?
Yes.
So you don't even see if he bleeds.
No.
You're right. So why the thumbtack?
They should have just put caps. Clip every single one of those thumbtacks. Say, hey, sorry, Gaffer. Today your job is to use these fucking little pliers and break off every stem of these so it's just the tops of thumbtacks.
Yeah.
So when you pour them in there, no one can get hurt.
If they were just like rubber thumbtacks, like just, you know, actor, like fake thumbtacks, that would have been the same thing. You wouldn't have seen anything.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, they didn't open it up. They didn't reveal him. They crowded around him and was like, oh, he looks seriously injured. And then later, someone gets seriously injured and they go, it's happened again. Like, whack. Grim Reaper says, Hardy unintended bump was nasty. That's all everyone's really talking about in the chat. And K-Lam says, the Sydal Shooting Star press looks like if I tried doing one after one of our shows. So K-Lam's one of our co-hosts. Kevlar, for one, impressed that he's tuned in at all. Most of the time they don't show up to the show. They don't tune in either. So thanks for tuning in. I didn't talk shit this time, so I feel lucky because most of the time I talk mad shit at the beginning of the show about how you don't come in, but I didn't. So cheers to Kevlar coming through. But yeah, after a whole night of drinking, screaming about wrestling, you go do a Shooting Star press, you do a Matt Sydal press. It is what it is. I think I'm going to get this out of the way because, I mean, honestly, as far as like the negative goes, I feel bad. Like I said, I think this was the AEW's worst pay-per-view.
Sorry, real quick. We were actually I was really excited for Thunder Rosa because we were such a fan of hers from NWA. And yeah, we thought, oh, this is going to be the one where she's going to really take this to another level where, okay, maybe if we're not fans of everything, this is going to be the one thing that we're going to love. And it was just so overshadowed.
Yeah, before we even get to that match, we end up with the Matt Hardy match. Was there anything else you want to say about the Battle Royal?
No, I'm ready for the Matt Hardy match. You open up the can, brother. I'm ready to drink. Let's do this.
Let's do it. So Matt Hardy, I don't know. So upon rewatch, they're controlling the forklift as it goes up. And at this point, there's no way somebody who's watching this doesn't know that they get on a forklift, Sammy spears Matt, they clear the tables. Their feet break a table while their head breaks on concrete. And, I mean, credit to Matt Hardy. He protected Sammy throughout all of it. Sammy was so protected. And as they're going down, I feel like there was... I mean, I've watched it 1,000 times because I'm a sick individual. And I feel like as he's going down, I feel like Matt realizes they're about to not, and he cups Sammy's head to keep his head safe. And Sammy lands fine and rolls off. But Matt took the bump. They're also the ones controlling it as it goes up. It's going up. Do those things have remote controls?
No. So, no. I mean, in the military, like I've actually have operated man lifts, which are like...
Yeah, you hated them. It terrified you.
No, I was actually pretty good. I was pretty good at it. Yeah, I was like I could operate it in the basket and go up like fucking, I don't know, 30 feet or something crazy. But like...
There's no remote, right? There's no handheld.
No. It's all on the actual machine.
Right.
So like,
one on the deck and it's one by the wheels.
Yeah, and I never operated. Right, exactly. I never operated a forklift because that was a separate qualification that took like, I don't know, extra time.
But
like,
this wasn't an actual forklift. It was more like the cherry picker. What do you call it? The
oh,
man lift.
yeah. So that was...
It was like a cherry picker. So the mechanism's inside. So that means they get in there and it starts to lift. They're doing it themselves.
Right.
And I was looking at... Go ahead.
They said that on the TV.
Did what?
The announcers, yes, they mentioned that. And they're moving the lift up. They mentioned it. So it wasn't magic. It wasn't like broken magic.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So Marsh is dying over here. But like, yeah.
Fuck, why would you bring attention to that?
First off, yeah, if you don't know how to operate like basic machinery, which apparently wasn't even a forklift.
It wasn't quite a forklift. It was like a cherry picker.
Then you shouldn't be messing with it. If you don't know how to operate it, just don't mess with it.
But it's just it. They knew how to make it go up and down, and that's all that matters. I like the announcer's like, and they're making it go up too.
Right.
Which is... For me, my absolute favorite thing about all of AEW is the commentary at this point. I hate Excalibur. Tony Schiavone's always putting over his wife, and that cracks me up. And Jim Ross has just had a fuck enough of it. And to me, it's fucking hysterical. And then you get Taz, who gets in there and feels a little comfortable. He feels like he's snuggly, talking with his buddies and calling matches, and it's hysterical to listen to do that. It reminds me of him on his podcast. And then you get Jericho, who shows up and just yells at everybody and does an impression of himself. So
get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly. So commentary aside, I love it, but they're making it go up. And when I first watched it, I thought, oh, they must have put the forklift too close to the tables, because they supposedly. We have no inside information unless you want to confirm some kind of inside information you have that I do not. We have no confirmation otherwise that they did practice the spot twice before the airing of the show. Had you heard that same rumor?
No, I haven't heard that.
Okay. I've heard that rumor from some of my quote sources, but I don't know if any of them are true or not. But supposedly they tried the spot twice before the show, and it was successful. I wonder... At first I thought they must have pushed them too close. But thinking about how we even set up our own table and camera here the same way every week, how would you move the forklift once it's in the right spot? And how would you not put the tables back in the right spot? It doesn't seem right to me. And when you see their feet go through the table, you can see between the tables, just for a brief second before they cut away, a black pad underneath it. They had a crash pad down there they were supposed to hit.
Right.
I think what may have actually happened was they went too high up.
I could understand that.
And Kevlar mentions it actually was just a scissor lift. So my bad. So
Scissor
that's
lift.
actually super simple. I think I was just overcomplicating it. And for some reason, I thought it was a forklift because I'm so distracted by the actual fall that I'm not looking at what they're on.
It's the scissor lift. That's right. That's what it's called.
Yeah, those are pretty simple.
So
more. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think what happened was I think they went too high because, I mean, trajectory, right? You're falling back. And if I watched a bunch of times and I was like, I don't feel like Sammy's fucking rushing him. And I feel like that Matt's just fallen back and they're both just kind of going down and they still missed. But once I realized that they're controlling their own scissor lift, I think they went too high. And I think that when they did it before and someone was on the floor and said, okay, stop right there. Or however they practiced it before, I don't know. That they had it low enough to where they fell back, it fell into the tables. Where this one, I think it was too high. They fell back and Matt hit his head on the table. Or on the ground, not the table.
Yeah, if they had it high first and then they released their little release and then it lowered as they were falling back, maybe that would have been safer. I don't know, but
I don't know if there's a safe way to do it.
Them going up, I think, like you said, is maybe just too complicated.
I think them controlling the upward movement while their adrenaline is going and they're in a match and they're fighting and they're on pay-per-view and it's live and it's in front of millions. I mean, it's not, but it's, everyone thinks it is. We're in front of millions as far as I'm concerned.
For the first episode, that's good.
That's pretty good for the first episode. What were you about to say, Tristan?
I was going to say too, though, that the bump was a bad bump, and Matt Hardy, obviously knocked himself silly. But there was one thing that the referee did in that match that I hated, and I'm wondering if you guys were able to pick out that one thing that referee did that I probably hated. Everybody gets one chance, and you guys watching the chat right now, you get to participate as well too. So give me that thing that you think that I hated that happened in that Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara broken rules match. Had Hardy had lost, he would have had to leave AEW.
I thought two things the ref did wrong. I thought
Go
one
ahead.
thing the ref did right was throw up the X a dozen times.
Mm-hmm.
I think at least 3. But I thought two things the ref did wrong. One, starting to count. I felt like counting to the 10 fall when Sammy said start the count was only going to make Matt a seasoned veteran of an era where you made the town, you finished the damn match, and you moved on. Like, Matt Hardy's an old school era, like it or not. And that was always the thought. Injured or not, you're going to finish the match. That's in Matt Hardy's blood. He can't stop that. You have to stop him because he won't. I felt like starting the 10 count was a bad move, and instead of just calling it, and I felt like the referee not protecting Matt from Sammy when Matt told Sammy to get back involved in the match was the second, to me, detrimental move in what happened moving forward.
Okay, producer, what do you think? What was the thing that I hated in that Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy broken rules match where if Matt Hardy lost, he'd have to leave AEW?
If you'd called it a no contest, he doesn't have to leave.
I think I just feel really similar to what Marsh said, that I wish she wouldn't have started counting. To just stop it all right there. And maybe it was habit on her part, like I don't know, but
Sammy told her and she took the direction of Sammy.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Well,
I think instead of counting, you just call it a no contest, and
So-
then there's no decision.
So in that instance, then, because I didn't realize that, it's really hard for me to rewatch that match. Like, I watched the fall and then I was like, I can't watch this again. Like, it was
I can
just,
understand that.
it's too much. I think I felt like her I wish she would have taken more control. Like, if someone is not listening to you and you're in a position of control, you do whatever you have to make them understand what you're trying to communicate. So, like, if it was me, I'd be like, man, just kick him in the nads. I don't care. Like, make him drop down to where he's not attacking the other person who's clearly injured. But I understand that's probably not how refs act.
Kevlar says in the chat that she didn't call it a no contest. What do you think you're going to say? What do you think, Tristen? What was the thing that drove you mental?
All right, so let me just go ahead and discuss real quick before I get into that the purpose of that broken rules match. The broken rules match is pretty much a last man standing match. A last man standing match is a hardcore style match in which a wrestler will lose the match if they are unable to answer a 10 count after being downed, similar to the knockout rules of a boxing match. To avoid losing, the downed wrestler must be on their feet by the count of 10, but they cannot lose by leaving the ring for a 10 count, or if they're still on the feet while recovering. So the issue that I had was that she didn't count.
That she didn't keep counting.
That she didn't start the count.
She did start the count. Yeah.
Well, no, the second it happened, she didn't start counting.
She did. No, so the second it happened, she jumps on the mat to check him. And then Sammy says start the count, and she starts to count. She counts to, I think, 4, and it provokes Matt to move.
You see,
Matt begins to move. He doesn't make it to his feet, and she stops counting. So I see exactly what you mean. In that regard, she should have continued to count and just said, you didn't make it to 10, forget it, it's over.
That's it. Match is done. And they booked themselves into a corner, and they got to figure it out. Because, why can't we?
No, but you can. Not that you can't. Not that you cannot. You absolutely can book yourself out of a corner. Yes, you booked yourself into a corner, but that's not the end of the show. And bottom line, we're all too smart now. We all want to forget and live in the moment, and we all want to completely believe that you're being shoved into a body bag against your will. But at the same time, if you call the match and say, hey, he was seriously injured and we got to figure a way to get him back out on TV, everyone's going to say, we understand that. Get him back on TV.
You see, that's the whole thing, though. When you're watching Law & Order SVU or you're watching the Avengers, you don't want Thanos to go, oh, my God, to the Iron Man guy. I don't know who plays the Iron Man guy because I've never really seen the Avengers movie. But, hey, Iron Man guy, hey, you think after this take that we can go ahead and grab some drinks? That just pulls you out of the whole thing. You're like, wait a minute, why are they talking to each other? They're supposed to hate each other. So my whole thing is that if Matt Hardy couldn't understand the count, couldn't come up to the count, just count him out and just keep moving. You don't have to explain what happened. Figure out a way. But the issue is that I knew at that time that Matt Hardy wasn't scheduled to win the match. I mean, he wasn't scheduled to lose the match. I knew that. Because if that was the case, if it was the other way around, it would have just counted. But let me tell you what probably happened to Aubrey Edwards. Everybody panicked. Whoever was in her ear, they panicked. They didn't know what to do. Oh my God, start counting. Stop counting. Start counting. Stop counting. Is he hurt? Check on him. Oh my God, what's going on? Stop counting. Oh my God, well, get him up. The match is done. Throw the match out. And they brought him into this room and did a concussion protocol test. So let me tell you, I've probably had a concussion once in my life from wrestling. And I've never had to undergo a concussion protocol test because concussion protocol is pretty much brand new to professional wrestling. All right. And I don't know what they would have asked him in that room that they would have done a full concussion protocol test on him to know that Matt Hardy isn't concussed. The only things that I can believe that they done to Matt Hardy was, what is your name? Where are you? And who's the president? If he's able to answer those 3 questions correctly, then you can say that he has his mental faculties to him. He's still good to go. Anything other than that, I can't imagine what kind of test that they could have put him through to go in there. But again, I was not a fan of Aubrey Edwards not counting Matt Hardy down from the beginning. Don't check on him. Don't check on him. Just start counting. And if he doesn't get up, he doesn't get up. One of the things that you learn in wrestling school, and maybe somebody out there could disagree with me, that has a lot more wrestling experience than I do. But one of the things that I learned in wrestling school is if you don't kick out, you got to explain to the promoter why you're no longer the champion. You got to explain to the promoter why the guy that he brought in for a one-off is walking home with his belt. Explain that. So right. Like my whole thing is that it's a work, but you work it as a shoot because people work so hard for their money. You don't want to disrespect or insult their intelligence by making them say, okay, cool, we're going to stop the match. It's a last man stand. If it was a regular wrestling match, I get it. I get it. If it was a no count out match, I get it if she's throwing up the X. If it was, a first blood match, I get it. Stop the match there. But it's a last man standing match, and it obviously wasn't a man that was standing, so that match should have ended right then and there.
I think this from a referee standpoint, and from a weird perspective, I was a corrections officer for a while, and you had to go through some sort of...
Oh, me too. For 3 weeks. We'll talk about that later.
You were for 3 weeks?
3 weeks, yeah. It's not for me.
All right. I lasted longer than you. But with less wrestling professional background as you, but with a little bit of a referee background and a little bit of the amount of things I'd seen in a prison, I knew what happened as soon as I saw him. I would say the other thing you do, apart from asking him questions, is just watching his eyes.
Right.
If his eyes can't fluidly move from left to right without jumping.
Right.
If they're jump, you're done. You're not coming over. And if he's not looking at you and you tell him to look at you, you're done. And I'll say this is from the referee perspective of I've got to protect this finish because I don't want to be the one to fuck it up, because refs go through that fucking stress and it's crazy because at the end of the day, I think the finish is on you, the wrestler.
That's right.
I'm just here to call what I see.
That's it. If you don't kick out, your fault, brother. New champ.
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, I've seen referees accosted because of them, quote, fucking up the finish. So I also understand that referees go, I don't want to be the one to fuck up the finish. So I understand both sides of that. I would say that Aubrey could have protected the finish and protected the wrestler by calling it a no contest. We don't have to have a winner, but we don't have to have a loser. And although it would be weird for someone to say, hey, how come on a last man standing match we didn't do a count for it and we just called the match over? And you said, I erred on the side of the safety of a performer. I feel like is easier to work yourself out of than actually counting somebody out and feeling like you fucked up the finish because now you definitively said this person was a loser. So I get that part.
Or they could have both laid there and she could have, like you said, ruled it a no contest or count to 10 and both men were out. So there's no real winner and there's no real loser at that point. Then you could work your way out of a corner that way.
That's true. Sammy could have stayed down. She could have checked on Matt, walked over to Sammy and said, you fall down and you stay down until I'm done counting.
That's right.
And Sammy does it. Because I'll tell you this, the other thing that was glaringly obvious in this is how green Sammy is. I felt this highlighted not only how green is Sammy, but how green Aubrey is. Aubrey's been refereeing for 3 years with no background, no medical background, no background whatsoever in any kind of athleticism. Her background is video game programming.
I didn't know that.
And dance. She went from dance into, and she'll talk about it. She's on Jericho's podcast talking about it. I'm not talking out of turn here. This is her. I wouldn't say widely. No one's listening to Jericho's podcast. But
No, I meant about her.
Yes. No, but she has said she was a project manager for a video game company and she was a dancer. She went to a wrestling show and someone said something along the lines of her having quite a presence and thought she could be a good referee. She went to a referee school by somebody who taught themselves how to referee by watching WWE on TV.
Good at.
So he taught her based off of that. And now here she is 3 years later on TV. From the day she started to now is 3 years. On TV trying to protect a person that she doesn't know if she can protect. And I felt like this was not a spot for her to be in. And I felt like Sammy was allowing Matt to continue to try to run the match. You could see Matt try to stand up and do stuff and Sammy taking bumps. So much so that Sammy took a tumble while Matt hit his head a second time on the concrete. Because he couldn't get his feet underneath him because he couldn't figure out how to stand.
That was the first thing I noticed. I noticed his feet right away. I said, oh, he's walking like he's drunk. This isn't good.
Yeah, he lost color in his face. The second I saw him hit his head, I went, oh, yeah, that's a concussion. That's bad. I've seen enough of these to know. If I look into the yard from a corrections officer perspective, I look into the yard, I see someone laying down the way Matt was laying down the second he hit his head, I'm clearing the yard.
Right, because he went limp. Like, he went, like, stiff. Like, when no, there was no further movement. It was like dropping a piece of cardboard on the floor. It's not going to move unless the wind blows it.
Yeah, exactly. He goes limp and then stiff, and then he just doesn't even twitch. He doesn't blink for like a minute. If I see that on the yard, I'm blowing my whistle. I don't even know if I had whistles. I think I would have asked someone to whistle. I'm yelling at them, everyone on the fence. I'd go in there, get everyone out of there, and I'm protecting that person because that is a clear and decisive injury to someone's head. And every second is brain damage moving forward.
That's right. Or
and
death.
It wasn't a doubt in my mind. And that's the other thing is that was driving me crazy is I was seeing on Twitter people going like, well, the fact that we're talking about it, is it a work? Is it fake? Oh, then it must be working. And oh, it's all fun. There was not a second I didn't know what was happening. I've seen it.
Right.
I've seen it with someone beat close to death. I know what that looks like, and that's what it looks like. She was ill-equipped to be there as the referee, and Sammy was ill-equipped to be there as the second dance partner. And that's what's upsetting, is Sammy didn't have it in him to step up. They go, well, we're going to continue the match. And the ref says, oh, okay, I don't know any better. And the other person in the match goes, okay, I don't know anybody either. And the person controlling the match is someone who's currently concussed.
Yeah,
it's dangerous.
When Kari was getting injured, Becky threw her under the ring to save her and protect her.
Yeah, in that TLC match where Kari got seriously injured, there's a certain point in the match where you just watch Becky Lynch roll Kari under the ring. Just to stay here. Just stay.
Yep. Don't go nowhere.
Someone's got to take control. You listen to interviews with Undertaker and Kurt Angle talking about matches where they got concussed. Undertaker talks about being concussed when he was with Brock. I don't remember the rest of that match, but I know Brock took me through it. You listen to Kurt Angle talk about Brock breaking his neck while he's doing the shooting star press. The Matt Sydal, as it were.
Liv Morgan, the other Riot Girls, took her out of the ring.
Yeah.
And jumped in the ring for her.
When Liv Morgan got kicked in the square in the fucking mouth by Brie.
Yeah.
She gets rolled out by the right. Ruby dragged her to the corner, tagged her. Sarah Logan dropped out, pulled her out. The rest of the match is Ruby Riott against 3 people because everything else is less important. But we can put on our show because we know what we're doing, but this person's being taken care of. No one was in that. No one was there who could take care of him.
Right. But, I mean, Guevara does have a little bit of experience, too, though. He's been wrestling since 2013. So, like, I'm not sure what he's seen because, like, even for me, I was not concussed one time, and this was, like, early in the wrestling career. I was supposed to come off and take, like, come off the second rope and take a knee to the head. But I came down, I turned my head sideways, and the knee hit me right in the temple. And let me tell you, I don't remember that being in that match. I don't remember the end part of that match. I had to watch the match on a video to be like, oh, and that's what happened? Oh, okay. But I'm telling you, honest to God, I remember going there and be like, yo, I don't know where I'm at. And my friend Steve took me through the match, and the match was done. You know, but I don't know.
Someone else has to take control. Kurt Angle talks about taking Brock through the rest of the match. Brock was calling the match until he got hurt. And then Kurt's like, I've got to take him through this. And he does. Sammy didn't try to take Matt through it. You can still see Matt speaking gibberish and Sammy responding to it in weird physical ways where he's just trying to do what Matt wants him to do. What environment do you have in the back there if that's what's going to happen?
But maybe Sammy, though, maybe Sammy doesn't have a background when it comes to calling matches. Like, for example, like I'm not going to lie, I just recently became comfortable in calling matches in the ring. I used to be in an environment to where I had to dictate everything. Oh, we're going to lock up, and then we're going to go ahead and shoot off, tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag, body slam, get it again. You know, that was my whole entire, spot that we used to call. And, all right, cool, shoot, duck one, rake the eyes, throw you to the ropes, choke you on the ropes. That was the whole entire match. Wow, I just went through a whole entire match with you guys. And, that's what I used to do until I got into the ring with Jake the Stink Roberts' brother, Sam Houston, and I remember meeting him in the locker room like, hey, sir, I'm Tristen. I'm the one that's working with you tonight. What would you like to do? Kid, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. Let me go ahead and get dressed and come back and see me in a little bit. Okay, cool. No problem. Yeah. So he goes ahead and he gets dressed, and then I go back to him. I have him a bottle of water. Here you go, sir. In case you're thirsty, you get warmed up, ready for the match. Hey, man, you figured out what you want, what we want to do tonight? We'll figure it out. Don't worry. Just check back with me a little bit. All right, cool. Fast forward. We're right behind the curtain. And I go, we're getting ready to go out. And I say to him, so what do you want to do? The finish is a DDT. Oh, shit. So now I got to go out here and we got to figure out the rest of the match. I've never done that before, and a lot of people told me that's one of the best matches they ever seen me do, because you're more reactive, real time. You're not in a spot of, okay, well, you know what, the next spot is coming, because after this clothesline, I'm going to feed up for another clothesline and block the clothesline, give him a DDT. No, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, okay,
Sounds
cool.
aware.
I got this clothesline. Let me sell and work, and then we'll put in another spot. So maybe Sammy Guevara
called the match, right?
He called the match, and then there's some things that I threw out. And if you liked it, we went with it. If you didn't like it, kid, we're not doing that. Okay, cool, no problem. Let me know when you're ready. We sit here, work the hole, and we just work up.
But see, so what it was this is me pulling back a little bit. As not a wrestler, I apologize for anything I say that may offend you as a wrestler. What it was is, here's a guy, the other guy, not you, listening to the crowd and taking the crowd's response on what's going to work and what's not going to work, and you learning as you're going about how to react in real time to make the match look believable. And I think that's why people fucking loved it, is because you weren't trying to call it in real time to look believable, but because you had to call it in real time, it did look believable. And there's so many matches we see now where you go, oh, look at Johnny Gargano scooching over to the corner. I guess he's going to be over there because Ciampa's, I guess, about to come around. And then Ciampa comes running around. The amount of matches that we're watching now on AEW and NXT were literally a minute before something happens to go, oh, look, he's heading over there. That means this guy's going to come over here. He's going to probably do this and then go over to there.
Marsh calls.
Well, you still position.
You got to be in the ring position.
You still position yourself for the spot. Like for example, you'll call like big things. Okay, cool. Here's the cutoff, or here's how we're gonna. Here's the how you're gonna come. Whatever. You'll call big things like that, but small things like that, I don't want to know. I get so damn confused now with these young guys. Hey, we're gonna go up, and I'm gonna flip, flop, slide, dive, and I'm gonna fly. You're gonna catch me. I'm gonna tilt a whirl, back slam, body slam you. I'm like, what? I told that to a guy. I said, what? I said, how about you? Here's the finish. Here's how you're being cut off. In the shine, give me basically what you want to do for the shine. Great. What do you want to do for hope? Great. Let's go out there and do it. Because all the stuff you tell me, man, my brain is like,
yeah.
And I learned that.
I know Cornette and Flair have talked about it. I mean, I don't know how you feel about either of them, but I like listening to them for the history of stuff. They've talked about the idea of, like, sometimes when new guys were there, it was like they really wanted to know, what are we going to do? And the real seasoned guys would smile and say, we'll call it in the ring.
That's right.
And that person learned the most in the ring than they ever would have learned by calling a match with someone before.
That's right.
And I feel that a lot of it has to do with what you're about to learn is no matter what you plan, the crowd is going to tell you what to do.
Right.
And the less you plan, the more believable it's going to be, and the more they're going to get behind the simple shit you wanted to do. If you thought a headlock was nothing, let me show you how a headlock's going to be everything on this one. You know what I mean?
Yep. Or if they start chanting boring, okay, cool. Let me put this boring ass headlock on and let's see how boring it is, and I'll let it work from there. There's different things. There's different things.
Yeah, watch me build a shitload of heat because they think it's boring, and let me bring it down a notch. And now they hate me more than anything. So now when you give me a punch, they blow the fuck up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But all that aside, the thing that to me was most devastating about this Matt Hardy bump was no one seemed to be in a position of actual control, and the person leading the match, leading control of the situation, and making the decision was the person who was most injured. To me, is a big black eye on AEW, and every response they've had since then has been absolutely terrible. And I think I saved it right here. I'm going to bring it up. Cody Rhodes, the day before they went to AEW to do their first live show, or maybe it was actually Double or Nothing, 8 days away from the most significant night in wrestling in my lifetime, Cody writes. He writes this whole letter, and there's a segment in there that says, I would ask you this one favor as we move forward. Speak to me. John Cena once told me that when the fans clap their hands or stomp their feet or give a visceral indicator that they want something, you need to do something. Otherwise, they will stop making noise. Please share your feedback with me. I want all of it. Good, bad, ugly. What we did right, what we did wrong, and why. Let me help create and tailor a product for you. It's one little snippet in a letter that Cody wrote to the fans of AEW moving forward. And I feel like this is one of those times where the fans are telling you what you did wrong. You're so used to hearing all the fans tell you that everything you're doing is right, that right now it feels really hard to handle hearing so much about that this is wrong, that a lot of defenses are coming up. Matt Hardy tweets twice since his injury, both of which are live on AEW this Wednesday from Daly's Place in Jacksonville. I speak. Shortly after, maybe 12 hours later. Tomorrow night live on AEW Dynamite. I'm excited to address the AEW fans. I'm looking very forward to AEW on TNT. Hope you are too. This is their response to the idea of someone being so critically injured they could not think for himself. And the response was, well, tune in next week and see what we say. I don't feel that's appropriate.
Well,
and I feel that
Tony Khan did go online and said that Matt was leaving a hospital, not a medical facility like WWE does, but Matt Hardy was leaving a hospital and he is not concussed. So
he said they're not concussed. His wife said he's concussed.
Well,
Tony Khan immediately said Doc Samson cleared him according to our concussion protocol. The response to that, his wife again said, you need to look at your protocol. This really is a Tony Khan versus Rebel Hardy. Reba Hardy?
Rebby.
Rebel. Rebby. I was wrong on both, and I apologize. Rebby Hardy versus Tony Khan as far as what side are you going to take? Was he concussed and seriously injured and everyone was irresponsible? Or is everything done correctly? And I feel like the company has a real opportunity here to stand up and say, we have made a critical failure that we will never make again. And instead, right now, they're hiding behind, well, Doc Samson said it was okay, and I'll never contest a doctor, is what Tony Khan said. And I was like, really? Because I wouldn't have let that go on. I take the Herb Dean approach to refereeing. If I see someone who I know is concussed or critically injured in the head, I'm going to lay on their head and call the match and take every punch to my back and neck that it takes until the person behind me stops fighting, because this person's future is more important than the outcome of this match. Producer wanted to say something?
Oh, it was also really difficult for me to watch, knowing that before the match, I think it was one of his kids, Maxwell. He has a Twitter account, and his, I'm guessing it was Rebby, tweeted out like, "Hey, we're watching Daddy tonight, and the kids are all set up to watch this match." And I just thought that was so heartbreaking to see your dad nearly die. I mean,
and then go back out and slip. He slipped on the light raft, the light fixtures as he's climbing up them. He slips twice, and Sammy helps him up. Outrageous. Who let him up there? Fucking stop it.
Bad.
So, I'm sorry, Tristan, I think you wanted to say something.
No, I was saying I think it's bad that they went for one big bump and they missed up, or they had an accident and they went for another big bump again. Like, let's just take it home some other way. I don't know.
Yeah. They also left open submission or pin, right?
No, it was the last man standing match.
Personally,
no. The Broken Rules match I thought had another stipulation. Were you about to say, producer? I'm gonna look it up.
Personally, I wouldn't have cared if they just said, "All right, we're gonna go to something else," and just show anything else. Like, go away from the match. I don't care. That's how concerned I felt at the moment.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I thought this was just a huge black eye on it. Let's see. I thought it was pin submission or couldn't stand up, and I don't see the. All I'm finding is results on it. Hold on. Oh, announce rules. Here it is.
There we go.
Broken Rules match. The winner will be the last man standing, determined when the man can't answer the referee's 10 count. The finish can take place anywhere. There must be a winner. If Matt Hardy loses, he'll leave the match forever. I guess you're right. It was only a last man standing match.
And they said there must be. Well, what they should have put was asterisk, must be Matt Hardy.
Well, it was if Matt Hardy lost, he would have to quit AEW.
Right, but I'm saying they said there must be a winner. And the asterisk should have been, but it must be Matt Hardy to win.
Yes. Yeah. And Matt Hardy must win at all costs. Like,
that's
okay,
right.
Well, I guess that's a pretty fair stipulation.
Right.
Kevlar even says they could have worked around it in a lot of ways, especially with Matt. Matt Hardy leaves AEW, Broken Hardy is there, or one version of Matt. Yeah,
I agree. Come back with another version of Matt. I agree.
I even thought that, a couple of friends of mine who are big AEW fans, the first thing he said was like, well, Matt Hardy's definitely losing, but that means he's going to come back. It's this version of Matt Hardy. No one was even expecting him to win, let alone under those circumstances. So if they thought he was going to lose and come back as a different version, what are you protecting?
Right.
I don't know.
But then again, the whole thing too, though, was like, okay, well, maybe that's not in their plan. So Matt Hardy to come back as a different gimmick. I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't know. And I don't mean to get on a big soapbox about it. It's just from a standpoint of being a first responder, from the standpoint of being a referee and having to protect these people from themselves at times. Because the thing is yeah, it's predetermined, and yeah, we know what's going to happen, and that doesn't mean that anybody in that ring is less of a fighter. You know, everybody in there is a fucking fighter. If they step in that ring and the bell rings and they make contact, that is a fighter, and that is somebody who is going to do more than they should and they're willing to give more than most to the people who are there watching. And I think that as a referee, it's your responsibility to protect them from themselves in those cases when you can, but also not get in the way of them in those cases when they can't.
It also, I was just thinking about real quick, not to drag this on, but it kind of shines a light on just their standard protocols on...
In general, yeah.
Yeah, in general, because, I mean, former military here, when you get trained on something, we would get a series of questions, because I was an aircraft mechanic, so I would actually lead aircraft in and out of their parking space as the engines were turned up, and it's coming at you real fast. So
right.
they would train you and say, okay, what if this happened? What if a fire happens on this wing? Like, what would you do in that instance? Because of training, this will prepare you so that you're not standing there freaked out and terrified in the moment. You have to have proper training, ask these questions a million times, and then you feel comfortable. So you know the answer without even having experienced it. Yeah. So it kind of makes me think like, wow, was no one ever asked like, okay, when someone's concussed, what do you do? Well, we throw up an X. Okay, but then what?
Yeah, then what?
Yeah.
And I know this is like a little much, but to be quite honest, being a corrections officer for so long, there's certain parts of it that just live in your blood. And I can't go to a venue. Like if I go to a concert, I walk the parameters. And I know I do it and I can't stop myself from doing it. If I go to a big restaurant I've never been to, I immediately, quote, have to go to the bathroom. Because I have to walk around and have to see everybody's face.
Of course, me too.
You too? Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. If at all possible, my back's going to be towards away from the door, and my face is going to be towards the door.
Right.
Because when it's not possible, I'm going to be okay, but I'm going to be looking around a lot. People think I'm distracted, but I'm watching and I can't stop it. I've been to so many concerts and stuff where the first thing I did was just like, all right, guys, I'm going to do my laps. I'll be right back because I don't know what else to do. I know I won't be comfortable until I do it. I don't see how you get in these situations, and I don't know. I just think that these people will just, yes, it's all fun. Yes, it's all games, but there's certain points where it's like, okay, this part's serious and you have to be ready. And if you're not ready, what are you doing in this position? And to me, that's the heartbreaking part of it, is that no one was there to protect Matt.
Right.
And I think about Matt and his career and what it's meant to me and my friends, and I'm watching this happening, and I'm screaming at my wall because we have a projector, so I scream at walls, not TVs.
Yeah, we were pissed.
Yeah, and I'm just all like, somebody fucking save him. He can't stop himself, and that's okay. He's a fighter. You have to stop him. Like. It was devastating to watch from our perspective of it, for sure.
I never want to see an accident, a deadly accident. I just never want to see that. I know some of you have seen that from when you watched Owen, but I don't ever want to see that.
Yeah, it didn't leave me feeling like these people were protected. I forgot there was one other thing that I kind of do because of the old CO thing. That I can't remember what it is. I definitely walk around every place, take like a mental image of everybody. I can't remember the other thing that I do. But when it comes up, I'm always like, oh yeah, can't stop it. Oh, you know what happened? This is what it is. I was at a tech store, and someone was thrusting their device at me, saying that this was broken. And I inadvertently, without even thinking, fell back into a self-defense stance, more or less slapped their hand away and screamed to get back at them. Because they made too aggressive of emotion. And the person stopped and looked at me, and I looked at them, and I stopped, and I went, I grew up in a really bad neighborhood. Because I didn't know what to say. It was one of those things where it's all like, oh shit, there's certain things that are going to happen to you that's just, it's in your head now.
Right.
And you're going to react now before you have a chance to even know you've done it. Because now it's self-preservation.
It's muscle memory too.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's kind of what I look for in referees, the people who protect people. The reason I know Herb Dean in UFC is because I've seen him so many times protect the fighter when the match has gone on one punch too long, and other guys I see just go like wave it off. All right, stop. But I see Herb dive on these guys, and you see all these punches rain in on him, and he goes, yeah, hit me all you want. This guy's head's not getting hit one more time.
You see, I think the issue with Herb Dean is that he just wants to get himself over.
Yeah, he is.
No, you know his name. He's over.
That's true. And if they had a Herb Dean action figure, I'd buy the shit out of that. 100%. So I can't disagree with you there at all. So I apologize. That was my long soapbox and the Matt Hardy thing. Anything you wanted to add to that, absolutely do so right now.
No, I'm all good. Case closed on that one.
I apologize if it was too much of a downer on that one. It just...
No, it's all right. You had your opinion, and we disagreed a little bit, but we agreed a lot. So yeah, we're good.
That's true, and I appreciate the idea of just like, well, fucking count them out. Let that be that. It's over. It's done, and now you figure it out from there. Because at the end of the day, the other thing we know about wrestling is you can fucking figure it out from there. There is no stipulation you can't come back at. That's what we know from wrestling. So yeah, you go, oh, it looks like Matt Hardy can't come back. Oh, but wait, there's more. So 100%, I agree with what you said too. Of if she's gonna start counting, she needs to finish.
That's it. Hands it down. Case closed. Shut the book. Let's try.
That's true. Which also brings me to one of my top moments of the week, which also coincided with a heavy cloud. The match immediately following this was Thunder Rosa versus Shida. And it kind of reminded me of how good Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb were. What did you think of this match?
I liked that match. I like Thunder Rosa. I am not an NWA guy. I used to watch NWA when I was on another show just like this, where we had to cover, or at least be aware of all the wrestling that happened, because we didn't cover everything. We covered the high spots.
Yeah.
But I liked that match, and I'm not too familiar with Thunder Rosa's work, and I appreciated the effort that she put in.
We are big Thunder Rosa fans in this house. Thunder Rosa. I actually went to the Hard Times pay-per-view filming, and I was there for the last 2 days they had of television filming before the pandemic, and the pay-per-view prior to that. It was 3 days squished together. And yeah, there was a whole bunch of chants you can hear about Thunder Rosa that you can clearly, definitively hear me start, because 100% we're big Thunder Rosa fans in this house. And her match with Shida, I thought was pretty fucking good. I thought her and Serena Deeb was outstanding.
That was awesome.
And it was one of those things where it's like, it's a shame that neither of these people are signed to this company, because it's maybe the best women's wrestling match they've ever had. And then they put it on Thunder Rosa versus Shida, which was a very close contender and very, very good. But if Tony Khan wasn't a coward, he'd put the belt right on Thunder Rosa. But yeah, I really liked her a lot. We actually used to do NWA, what do you call it? Watch along? Yeah. We called it drink alongs, and we did happy hour with 3 R's.
Okay, happy hour.
Yeah, absolutely Yeah, I thought also the FTR match with the tag champions winning the titles, I thought was really good. Great move.
There's something that you didn't. Oh, he kind of got injured at the end.
Oh, I thought that Kenny looked like he swiped Cash's leg, which looked fishy to me. And I thought, did he just fuck with that guy a little bit or no? But ultimately, no one got hurt, so it's fine. I think what I want to do real quick.
He was asking something.
Oh, what were you about to ask?
Which match were you talking about?
FTR and Kenny and Paige.
Oh, that match was too long.
Too long?
Too long.
I could see that. Yeah.
I remember looking up and going, "Wow, this match is still going on." But I didn't like the fact that Kenny. I didn't like the fact that I didn't like the fact that Kenny Omega just walked out after like having his leg like worked on. Like, okay, cool, no problem. Let's go to the Burger King now. I'm ready. Like,
Yeah.
no, you got your leg worked on, but that's it.
Yeah, limp a little bit. 100%. Hey, Tristen. You got one of your commercials handy?
You want me to play one? Sure.
I want you to play a commercial right now.
Okay, hold on. Oh wait, that's not a commercial. Please hold. Hey you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. That shirt you're wearing is so not cool. Why don't you head on over to TristenLawShow.com and get yourself a new shirt. Not only will you be cool, but you'll also be supporting the show. What are you waiting for? Go now and get a hat too while you're at it. Thank me later. We're the show at TristenLawShow.com. There you go.
Thank you so much for doing that. So,
Oh, you need another? Oh, I get the gimmick. You need another one. Hold on. Hi, I'm Tristen Law, host of the Tristen Law Show, and I'm glad that you're listening. If you like what I'm doing, consider supporting the show by heading on over to patreon.com/Tristen Law Show. There are 5 levels of membership ranging from $6 to $60 per month, and you'll get things like ad-free episodes, access to episodes earlier than the rest of the world, virtually hang out with me, opportunities to ask me anything that I'll answer here on the show, and much more. There's something here for everyone. Head on over to TristenLawShow.com for more info.
Woo. Those are good, man. Those are clean. I like them. I just wanted to go ahead and let everybody know that's the kind of stuff you're putting out there, you know?
Well, I'm glad that everybody knows that Tristen Law Show, they can go ahead and get a show, support the show by wearing the show. Did I point to the right side? By wearing the show, that's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if I've pushed the button on our little podcast thing to say, yeah, go ahead and allow commercials, but I don't think they actually happen. So I'm glad to get a couple in there this time.
Yeah, just go ahead, create your own drops. Just press a button, let it do its thing, take a break, come back, boom, you're done.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. For All Out, the only other thing that happened, I think, really was Moxley and MJF. I would say that I was heavily disappointed MJF didn't take it. I thought because of the heat and everything, because of the injury, the audience was just completely dead. I felt like MJF started to look a little bit... He wasn't sticking it. He wasn't really... There was no stiff hits. It started to look a little bit like everyone was trying to get through the match, which was a little bit crazy. But I really wanted MJF to take it this one. Really disappointed he didn't. But I do feel like my 3 top matches of the night was that match, Thunder Rosa, and FTR. What'd you think of that last match?
I think that last match was a good match.
Yeah.
But there was one issue with that last match. And the issue with that last match is that by the time they got to that last match, everybody's already seen 147 minutes worth of wrestling.
Yeah.
The FTR match could have went maybe 10 minutes shorter. Maybe 10 minutes shorter, making a 20-minute match. Maybe take 5 minutes off of that, right? But I think that match went a little bit too long. Everybody got burnt out. That's like WrestleMania, all right? I'll put you into WrestleMania fatigue, okay, or all out fatigue. I like the match because MJF is the future of the company and not yet. What I would have done differently if I was booking for AEW, and I don't book for AEW, hey, Cody, if you need somebody to help you with some storylines, or if anyone out there likes to solicit Tristen Law to help you with storylines, hey, just hit me up.
If you're listening.
But the thing is that what I would have done on Dynamite, the Go Home Dynamite before, was I would not have bloodied up Jon Moxley. I wouldn't have. What I would have done is I would have had MJF leave Jon Moxley lying with the paradigm shift and say, "Ha, I can use your moves, but you can't. See you Saturday."
That'd have been good.
If they wanted to bloody up Mox, maybe hit him a second time with it, and put it on like a chair or something, and then have him do the job there, and then he's bloodied up. So the only payback that Jon Moxley got on Saturday was that he bloodied up MJF. Great. Got it. But if they had went with the story that I'm trying to tell, now when Jon Moxley has to use the paradigm shift to end the match, then you'd be like, okay, cool. You know what? Jon Moxley is getting his payback. So because he's getting his payback, you can understand why he's using the paradigm shift. So here is the question. Why is Jon Moxley, the babyface, utilizing a move that he knows is illegal? If he was the heel, then yes. But why? That story wasn't told.
Somebody asked in the group chat that I'm in, they said, "Oh, wait, how did the finish go?" And I said, "The babyface cheated to win, and he kept his title." And they're like, "Oh." They're like, he did the paradigm shift? And I was like, yeah. Behind the ref's back, who was poorly distracted. They don't know how to do ref distractions there. Here's the other thing. I know a lot of people talk a lot of shit about Jimmy Corderas, and I've got my ups and downs with him, and he's yelled at me on the internet once before, and I still look up to him a lot. The dude, I've got a DVD of his, Referee 101, and if you go to Fight TV, there's an app. The Fight app is how I find it. For I think $199 or $299, you can get Refereeing 101, and he does like a several-hour seminar talking about all the things that it takes to be a good referee and the things that you want to consider when you're even being an independent referee versus being on a main stage referee like WWE, which I think is very, very insightful.
I know that. I know Jimmy. I like Jimmy. I met Jimmy a year ago, SummerSlam weekend, and it was for a SummerSlam party. That's a WrestleMania weekend? SummerSlam in Toronto. And I met the guy, and the guy was just like cool, and we added each other on Twitter, and I hope that he's a future guest on the Tristen Law show. I'm just want to slide into his DMs and say, "Hey, Jimmy, would you mind coming onto the show and talking about
push it? I'll push it. I've also had a number of communications with Charles Robinson. He'll tweet back and forth with me a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I got a hat when I went to Royal Rumble. I got my hat signed. The first person who signed my Royal Rumble hat, and I wanted to have it signed by as many people as I could, so I could post it up on my wall, and I do. The first person to sign it, Charles Robinson. Second person, actually was Bailey, then Sasha, and then immediately thereafter was Tim White. And when I went to get Tim White's autographed, I was like, "Hey, can you autograph this hat?" He looked at it and he goes, "It's got Sasha and Bailey on here. Are you sure you want my signature along with those big stars?" And I was like, "Yeah, but look on the back. There's Charles Robinson." He goes, "I'm not putting my name next to that guy." and then he laughed and he goes, "No, I love that guy," and he signed it. But obviously, being a ref, I'm a big fan. I've actually got a signed Tommy Young jersey. He didn't wear it, but it's a referee jersey that Tommy Young signed. I want to try and get signed by as many refs as I can. And I met Brian Hebner at one point. So, needless to say, I look up to a lot of these different referees. And Corderas on Fight TV has Referee 101, which you can check out, which goes through a bunch of the referee stuff. And he does talk about how you utilize a referee to be distracted in ways that make sense, which, like you said in the beginning of the show, brings legitimacy to the match. The ref is there to make what your moves look like become believable. They're the step between believability and choreography.
Right.
I really feel that way. A good referee will make your choreography look believable. A bad referee will make your choreography look like a dance.
Good point. I tell people that the referee's job is a lot more. The newer wrestlers, the referee's job is just more than sitting there.
Yeah, I'm not there just to try and get a quick count. I'm there to make people believe what you're doing is a fucking fight.
Facts. That's how the young kids say it these days. Facts.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, with that in mind, AEW doesn't know how to utilize referees in that way. And one of the things that was such a big giveaway, MJF hits the ring post, runs to the side, and the referee slid out in such a way, stood in front of MJF, told Moxley to get in the back corner of the ring, and then walked to MJF. And I went, as this is happening, MJF goes down. I absolutely went, oh, MJF's going to come up with his head bleeding. He's about to cut himself right here. The referee's handing him the blade right now. And producers all like, what? And then like 30 seconds later, he picks his head up. It's bleeding. And I was like, there he goes. And the referee's got the blade back. And you see him literally put his hand in his pocket and get back in the ring. And you're like, you guys don't even know how to fucking cover it.
Oh, I mean, I don't think he would have threw it. I was trying to look for it. I don't think he would have threw it in his pocket. You get cut like that. If I had a gimmick, I'd throw the gimmick underneath the ring, brother, throw the gimmick underneath the ring.
I mean, they're not putting their hand back in their pocket for nothing. They don't have anything in there. It's not they don't got like a fucking mic pack.
You're right. You get stabbed in your thigh.
Yeah, except the way that guy goes down, Bryce, he doesn't ever go on his leg. He goes on his knee, and he does these big pop-up counts. So, I don't think you have a big issue with that. But at the same time, you fold it over into the tape, you're fine. Because there's more tape on one end than the other, obviously. But so that was my only big problem with that one was there's a huge dead giveaway that these guys are cutting themselves. Moxley, this is the weirdest part about Moxley to me. I love Moxley. I've got T-shirts of the dude. He's probably my favorite AEW guy right now. Is the Moxley character, not Dean Ambrose in AEW, but Moxley. And the guy can't cut himself. But he comes from CZW. He comes from death matches. He comes from bleeding everywhere all the time. And every time he cuts himself, there's like a fucking donut with a tiny little puncture in the middle on his forehead. That's weird, right?
I mean, I don't know if wrestlers cut themselves. That's never anything that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be able to properly speculate on that.
Gotcha. I feel like other people bleed down. He has a puncture wound that swells out, and it's weird to me. That's all I'm saying about it. You'd think for a dude with that history, I'd be like, oh, this guy's going to be like Dusty Rhodes out there. But he's not. It's weird.
I mean, Dusty was the man.
Dude. You want to talk about hard times? I think that's it for All Out for me. Did you have anything else you want to talk about the match?
If you didn't watch it, go ahead and watch it. I mean, it wasn't terrible in my opinion. I just think they look like piss. But anything other than that, yeah, I'm good.
I do think it was one of the matches of the night for me. Thunder Rosa, MJF, and FTR, I think, were like my big three takeaways of like they went out there and they performed tonight. Those were the big like take a bow for me wrestlers of the night.
Mm-hmm.
So 100%. If you didn't see it, it's worth checking out for sure. I'm really curious to see what happens with MJF going forward. How are they going to move that story along? Because like you said, I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's mind he's the future of AEW. AEW is going to sink or fall by that guy.
Future.
Let's see. Man, I'm looking at like my notes of just like things that were really exciting for the week, and it's almost all SmackDown as far as after that. Bayley and Sasha split up officially.
That was the biggest, yeah.
To me, that was fucking exciting.
Yeah, Sasha went to a medical facility, not a hospital.
She went to a local hospital, dude. You'll notice.
Yeah, she went to a medical facility. Her and Big E.
No, she was discharged from a local hospital.
Oh, well, maybe they transferred her from the medical facility to the hospital.
I think they go to a medical facility and get admitted into local hospitals.
Maybe the medical facility is like an urgent care.
100%. That's what I think. In my mind, in my shoot mind, medical facility is urgent care unit. Because I've been to, in our city, there's more urgent cares than there are hospitals, for sure. When I was in Tampa, Florida on a work trip, a dude took a razor blade to the forehead and got gashed and needed stitches. I looked at the nearest hospital. It was an hour and a half away. There was an urgent care 1 street over. So seconds away. I took him there. He got stitches. We were good. We left. And I was like, oh, I took him to a local medical facility, and now he's cared for.
Real quick.
Felt very WWE at the time.
Tampa. Did you go to Ybor City?
Did I go where?
To Ybor City in Tampa. If you ever do it, Mons Venus or Odyssey 2001, people that are listening right now, just Google it. You'll know what I mean. So anyway, I think maybe the medical facility is maybe some guy outside the back of the arena selling pills outside of his jacket. Hey, brother, you want some pills?
Ooh,
Medical
that'd
facility.
be good.
I don't know.
Sort of like the Repo Man, but the Farmo Man?
Right. You see? And they get a discount because they give him free cameos.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting that cameo in Twitch subs.
That's right.
Yeah, I could see that. Yo, on the down low, Paige has 120,000 followers on Twitch and calls herself the Queen of Twitch. And she only now this week changed her name away from Paige. And you're going to be mad at WWE?
She's not mad.
Come on.
She was out there explaining, and so hey,
that's what I'm saying. Other people saying being mad at Paige or being mad at WWE, all this, and Paige is like raking in 120,000 in less than 2 months, and you're all like, okay, you're gonna tell me there's no argument to be made for a platform?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna let that sit where it's sitting. So, Bayley and Sasha split. Bayley beat the shit out of Sasha Banks. And it's a long time coming, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, I didn't see any Sasha Banks, but I mean, I can see what you're saying.
What do you mean?
You said she beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, she smashed her around and broke her leg.
I didn't see any feces come out of Sasha.
You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see any feces come out of her.
I'll have to go back and watch, but I feel like there were some schmears.
No.
What? I was super excited. I know a lot of people have been saying like, oh, the split's been teased for years. Here's the thing about internet wrestling community. They get pissed when they say that storylines are week to week and storylines are monster of the month. And they go, there's no long-term storylines. And then those same people go, ugh, this Sasha Bayley story is dragging on forever.
Right.
Oh, are you complaining about how long this storyline is? That's how I feel about it. I get mad at them. But, I mean, even Sasha said when she was away and came back after her whole little, what do you call those?
Sabbatical.
Not excursion. It's like a...
Sabbatical?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tristen, not producer. On that
You're welcome.
Just a note.
Come on, producer. What are you doing? What are you doing, huh?
Yeah, what's going
Clearly not drinking a gallon of vodka or finishing bottles of Jameson over here.
You know what? You should replace her with like a robot producer who would not be drinking Jameson, who'd be there to back you up and say, sabbatical.
Yeah.
We have one of those, but Siri is actually way more of a bitch.
Yeah, we tried to have Siri produce the show for a bit, and that actually there was a lot more fights than there was otherwise. But
What about Alexa? I'm not going to say it.
oh yeah, I wouldn't say it either. Not in this house.
Not in this one.
But so people complain about there being no long-term storylines, and then you have a storyline that goes on, and they go, oh, the storyline's too long, and you're like kind of like, I don't know what you want, really, like. But for me, where my money's at, I think the story arc has been beautifully painted. And when you think about one of the greatest storylines of all time, it's clearly and obviously no one ever argue Macho Man and Hogan in the Mega Powers Explode. That was a year-long, subtle little intricacy after intricacy detail for an entire year until you got to the point where they fought at WrestleMania. And I think that if you can have something like that painted over a year, and you have the career span of Sasha and Bayley having its ebbs and flows and its ups and downs over the past, I guess at this point, 5-6 years, yeah, maybe that seems like a long time, but I feel like it's so rich in depth and filled with emotion that when Bayley kicked Sasha right in the head, I thought we were all kind of on board that we thought this was going to happen. But when it happened, I was still shocked and screamed. I was like, oh God! Like, I freaked the fuck out. I was in the Thunderdome, I think, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. Oh God!
You were just frozen, especially because you thought that it was going to be Sasha.
I've been saying for weeks that I thought Sasha would be the one to pull it on Bailey, because I thought Sasha was such a clean heel, and Bailey plays a great good guy trying to be the heel. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
You know, like in school, like if you can think back to like high school and middle school, where like there was a good girl who wants the bad girls to like her, so she tries to be bad, but she's still super goody two shoes, but just says poop instead of shit. You know what I mean?
It's not poop?
Yeah. You're like,
Dark.
oh, holy poop. And you're like, what? You're like, yeah, because I'm with my bad guy friends now. You're like, what? What are you doing? Like, I feel like Bailey, from a heel perspective, has been so well thought out as far as like staying true to her original character, being a heel. It's a good guy trying to play heel, that I thought they were going to really pull on that with Sasha. And they gave the sympathy to Sasha. So I was really surprised by that, but also totally here for it. What do you think?
I think that it's good because we really get to see that side of Bailey. I always thought it was going to be Sasha the entire time. Sasha's a great heel, but it gives Sasha that. I think Sasha's also a good babyface as well too. I think that it was a good reason. It was good that they put Bailey and Sasha together, because Bailey could actually work with Sasha to become a better heel, to get the rub. Give it a rub, brother. To get the rub, so that Bailey could become a better heel. And I think at this time, Bailey is a better heel. She's not your traditional I'm evil heel, but she's the I'm a punk heel, and I'm going to do like underhanded, dastardly things. So I like that. I'm glad to see what's going to come to Bailey, because I love women's wrestling. I empower women to do things that men say that they can't do, and do it better than men.
Yeah. To be 100% honest, when I stopped watching wrestling for a really long time. We've talked about it here before, so I won't go too far deep into it. But I stopped watching just having a quick stroke. I stopped watching for a really long time. I stopped watching when JR entered the Kiss My Ass Club.
Damn.
Because I was like, I'm not here to watch legends and people I respect literally rub their faces in the asshole of the company owner, regardless of storyline. I was like, I just can't watch this. So I stopped. I was living in New York, and SummerSlam came through, and the takeovers came through Brooklyn for 3 years in a row. And it was the year that the Universal title was being debuted with Seth versus Finn, and Bailey was trying to get her belt back from Asuka. And I watched wrestling that weekend because I thought, well, a lot of people at work I know are watching it. I used to watch wrestling, and a lot of people I know are at that show. I might as well watch it, see what I think, and talk to them about it a little bit.
Right.
And it must have been maybe 2 minutes in watching Bailey and Asuka. I text my friend who was there, and I was like, who are these women? And what have they done to the wrestling that I've seen? Because this is different. This is different, and it's phenomenal, and it's next level. This is what women's wrestling was always supposed to be. So I highly credit Bailey, Asuka, and Finn and Seth for bringing me back into wrestling fandom, to be completely honest. I think the idea of everyone saying Sasha would be a great heel versus a babyface, I think the idea of Bailey taking that on as a challenge of turning Sasha into a face, I think is pretty fucking cool, and I'm really excited to see what they both do with it. Have you seen the Untolds and the Chronicles about, or the Break It Down, or the different ones they've put out recently about Sasha and Bailey's matches? Timeline, that's what it was.
Yeah. I started watching that, but I didn't really get to finish it because, for some strange reason, my TV likes watching me sleep. I don't know why. So I never got to finish watching it. But, I did want to actually watch that. I thought about it last night. But again, the TV wins, and it was ending up watching me sleep. I don't know why. Maybe the TV's evil. Maybe it slips things.
The TV really likes to see a producer sleep, too.
What do you have, a Samsung?
All
Was it a Samsung
Samsung.
producer? You
It's
see,
a
yeah.
projector.
Samsung well too.
It's a projector.
It's a projector, and I'm in trouble already.
From Samsung?
Yeah, right. Samsung projector.
Yeah. Wow.
I want to say you should check out Timeline. There's also a Break It Down with Sasha where she talks about her matches with Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't seen the Chronicle with Sasha before, right when she was coming back with the blue hair,
Oh, I love
watch
that.
those things because you've seen that one at least, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Watch those 3 things. If you've seen one, watch the others. If you've seen none, watch them all. I think Sasha absolutely has the ability to be someone you can get behind.
You know, and that's the best part too, because I remember talking about this a couple of weeks ago, is that now that Charlotte is not there and Becky's not there, every other girl in the company should want to step up. Give Charlotte and Becky more people to work with when they come back. And I'm not saying that Sasha isn't any good, but I feel like Sasha, I'm going to put Bayley in there as well too. Sasha and Bayley always played second fiddle to Becky Lynch and Charlotte. And now that those 2 women are not there, it's time for them to shine and 2 more girls or a couple more girls to step up into the next spot. And I think one of the ladies that stepped up to that spot, it could be Natalia. Natalia's needed her time, and she's going to step up in there pretty soon. But, you never know
I can't say a single bad thing about Natty. She's a friend of the show, follows our account.
Well, actually, hey, what's...
Yeah. Love Natty.
Love Natty. Yeah, 100%. And the thing is she's held the women's championship title a couple of times, and I've never felt like it was enough.
Right.
I really was excited for Mickie James coming back, and a part of me really, really hoped that she was going to tag with Natty.
Yeah, I think a Mickie Natty tag team would be better than a Natty Lana.
Because think about how powerful they would be. They just, wow, they'd wreck it.
Yeah.
I could see
they
that.
They could even give themselves a stupid name like LOD, like Legends of Divas.
Okay. Oh, that'd be so cool. And they come out with like, oh, what a rush. And they come out with the music with the. I can see that. I like that.
Except for them, would be what a crush.
All right, I'll rock with that.
Yeah,
We're still.
See, Mickey's always doing that MILF of Monday night things on her pro wrestling tees.
Oh, you think they're going to have to cut out pro wrestling tees as well too?
I think so. Actually, someone was talking about who just dropped their pro wrestling tees.
I know that I think Walter did.
Walter may have.
I feel like he did.
I've been surprised that Ciampa's had one this whole time, but somebody else dropped theirs, and I can't remember who it was, but it was a main roster guy who had just closed down their pro wrestling tees. And I've been saying for probably 2 years, I can't believe that some of these NXT guys still have their pro wrestling tees sites up. But hey, I mean, $7 is $7.
Yeah, that's right.
So, if you want to go check us out, we just had a sale that just ended, so now you got to buy everything full price. Is what you get for waiting.
What?
WrestlingOnTheRocks.com for a Pointless Aggression shirt. You can get a Give Me What I Want shirt if you're a big fan of the Give Me What I Want. Give me what I want. But I do see the potential for Mickie James and Natty coming out to Oh, What a Crush, and having 2 Legends of Divas come out with sparkly little spikes on their shoulders. I could be all right with that. I'm really excited about Mickie and Asuka, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I'll move us from SmackDown.
Mickie and
No,
Asuka.
we're still on SmackDown. I'm just saying that. So, did you have anything else to say about the Bayley-Sasha split other than it's going to be epic?
No.
It's going to be epic. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. I'm a big Bayley mark. So, if you tried to contest it, it would have been met with a lot of fierce aggression.
Oh, it's all right. I just give you the finger. I just tell you to, I get on a plane right now and come to Arizona. They're cheap right now.
That's it.
By the time I get there, it'd be like, I don't know, 12 o'clock, midnight. It's almost midnight here.
Yeah. Door just knocking, and I'm all like, it's going to happen. I'm really excited about Sammy, AJ, and Jeff Hardy being in the triple threat concept. The idea that AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and El Generico Sami Zayn could be in a triple threat style ladder match for an Intercontinental title on a WWE main stage, to me, is so fucking mind-blowing and exciting. I don't know how people aren't blowing the roof off just for the fact that this could happen.
Because sometimes you don't know what you have yet. Yes.
Do you think that's what it is? Do you think people don't realize how good it is right now for them?
Yeah, they don't know yet. Some people are not familiar. Like, for example, I always said that there are some people that only live in that WWE bubble, so they only know what happens in the WWE. So if it happens outside the WWE, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, does anybody hear it?
Yeah.
No. The tree doesn't fall, right? Does it? Right. So if it doesn't happen in WWE universe, they don't know that it exists. Most people don't know that AJ Styles has his whole entire body of work from Japan, from TNA Impact, from even WCW, unless they look at the WWE network and see that AJ Styles was there at the tail part, at the extremely tail. Like when I'm talking about the tail, I'm talking about like the tip of the tail, where it's almost like, nothing there. But AJ Styles was there, so people don't know. People don't know about Sami Zayn's work in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla or Chikara or wherever he was before. People don't know about that.
Yeah.
So they're in for a little treat.
That's true, but you'd think that by now, I mean, everyone already knows that AJ Styles is one of the greatest in the history of wrestling. He's already in people's tops. There's no way people can deny it at this point. Jeff Hardy, no one can deny his legendary status. Do people really not still have that level of grasp on Sami Zayn? I mean, on the main roster, maybe not. When I think of some of my favorite Sami Zayn matches of all time, obviously anytime he's in the ring with Kevin Owens is insane. And to me, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens is what made Raw Underground a thing. Because I feel like that you wouldn't have Raw Underground if you didn't have matches like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would put on, where it's like, let's just literally beat the shit out of each other for a bit and see how people react.
Right. Where,
well,
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, right? Like, do people have they just not figured it out with Sami yet?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think about Sami and Cesaro in NXT, and maybe that's just way too far back. You know what I mean? For the average viewer.
Right. You're right. I mean, but it's still... But there was a time, too, that NXT wasn't a part of the WWE... What didn't feel like a part of the WWE universe.
Yeah. For sure. 100%. And I've watched certain years and not other years. I actually took a year off from War Games to War Games, like, I think year before last. Where once Adam Cole came into the company, I watched that first War Games with him and didn't watch again till the next War Games. And I was like, I feel like I haven't missed anything. Like, I knew where this was going. But I just feel like with Sami, Jeff Hardy, and AJ being in a three-way rivalry for the Intercontinental title, like, this is what we've been dreaming of, boys, right?
I mean, I want to see it first before I get super excited, and then I'll be able to give my full opinionated. I don't know. I'm just trying to put a bunch of big words together. I'm done.
Gotcha. Here's what I want: ladder match, AJ, Jeff, Sami, 2 Intercontinental titles above the ring. Clash of Champions. That's what I want.
Well, we still got some time. I can see that.
If they did that, fuck. Don't even bother booking Roman. No one's going to watch it. They'll be done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go ahead and book Roman. He's great. He's a big star. But so yeah, I figure put the 3 of them in a ladder match, and you're going to have one of the top 10 ladder matches that people talk about for all time. There's no way the 3 of those guys don't put together a match that everyone doesn't go, oh, everything is either before or after that in my mind. That does bring me back. I've only got 2 other topics I really wanted to make sure we hit on, softly even. Anything else about Sami, AJ, and Jeff?
Nothing here from me. Producer?
No? Yeah, she's pissed. She's so pissed, dude.
She's pissed. She's doing her.
She's doing the thing. She's doing the finger thing.
Oh, which finger is it?
She's doing that. She's doing the thing. Like, wrap it up.
He's trying to have more booze, but he's already, like, emptied several bottles at this point.
You got to finish them off at some point. You can't have a bunch of, like, mostly way bottles.
I mean, hey, well, you got to make sure you paint the picture properly. I mean, if this only drops in the bottle and he finishes it, he didn't drink a whole bottle. He did over time.
Definitely more than drops.
Finishing a bottle isn't the same as having an entire bottle. That's exactly my point.
That's right.
If you added them all up, it's definitely a bottle.
Well, I'm not the best at math. So, Roman and Heyman together as a team. Jey Uso is your number one contender. Yes. Fuck. Did you watch Talking Smack this week? I'm betting you didn't because most people don't.
I didn't. I tried watching Raw Rewind or I don't know what I'm saying last night.
Yeah.
But, again, the TV ended up watching me. Damn.
That's
TV.
all right. Not a big deal. Uso went out there and did a Talking Smack, which I think was so good, where he's talking to Kayla and Woods, and Kayla keeps saying things like, do you realize that you're so close to being called a new Universal Champion? And you can see it on his face when she even says that. Like, regardless of what they have booked, he's in that match. You know? Can you imagine a world? First off, Paul Heyman and Roman together is fucking already magic. Am I right?
Right now, yes. For what we have so far, yes.
It could go bad.
I mean,
but right now,
I can go, I want Paul.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that Roman and Paul together is such a good fit. It's almost like, fuck, I can't believe we waited this long, but maybe if we waited even less, that it wouldn't have been worth it, you know? Like, but the idea of Jey Uso potentially becoming Universal Champion. Could you imagine that, though? Someone who's just been in the tag division forever and chasing more and more tag gold because they wanted to be known as the best tag team that's ever lived. One of them actually pulling down the biggest title in the company. I mean, I know from a fan standpoint, we think World is way bigger than Universal. For sure.
Right. I mean,
but from a company standpoint, they want you to think the Universal is.
But the universe is bigger than the world.
Right, exactly. By just metrics alone.
That's right.
So, imagine a world where at Clash of Champions, Jey Uso wins the Universal title over over Roman Reigns. How do you not get choked up and lose your mind over that?
But you know what's the funny thing? It's not going to. The question is, what is going to happen to bring us forward? Maybe, one other Usos. What is it, Jimmy? Jay? Yeah. One of the, it's like the Bella twins. I can't tell them apart. So the other Uso brother is going to come out there and there's going to be this tussle going on. And then he to turn brother. No, something has to go on that you're not going to see that he's going to. Maybe the other Uso could come out there and be like, bro, you're out here feeling yourself too much. This guy right here gave you an opportunity and you're legit trying to beat him. I don't know. That's just my best friend.
Yeah. I don't know. I think obviously we all go, oh, well, clearly Roman's just going to steamroll through Jey. But just let yourself for a second imagine Jey winning it just for a minute. And let Roman take it back a month later. But can you imagine one of the Usos holding a Universal title on a team that never thought they would even be in that conversation? They were never here for that conversation. And now the concept is there.
Can't believe that.
Like, that's tremendous.
Because if Jimmy Uso, is it Jimmy or Jay? The Uso brother. If he
Jay
wins,
is who's in it right now, yeah.
All right, Jey Uso. If Jey Uso wins it, then what? So he just comes back a month later to lose it from Roman?
Maybe. Maybe, and it feels a little bit slanted, but at the same time, I mean, as much as Kofi's moment and Kofi Mania was as important and pivotal as it was it also just a placeholder? Was it a longer placeholder? Was he a transitional champion? Maybe. It doesn't mean any less to me, but the idea of a tag team wrestler holding the Universal for even a month, that seems big. If he had even one defense in the middle before losing it to Roman, I'd be like, yeah, solidified. Bona fide champion. And I think the Usos have it. I think that they 100% could be single stars.
Okay. I mean, I definitely feel that they're good enough to be single stars. I don't think that they are not good wrestlers at all. I mean, tag team wrestling is a lot different than singles wrestling.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't see him walking out of the Clash of Champions with the championship match. The question that I'm asking myself is, why is he in a championship match? What is going to happen? Why is he going to get the short end of the stick? Because right now he's feeling himself right now and going, "Oh my God, I'm getting my match with my cousin," and he's so happy. But then, I don't know. Roman Reigns is going to snatch it away from him. Maybe the story is that family is more the championship is more than family to Roman Reigns.
I mean, it could be, and what better team to do it with than the Usos? Because remember, they're the ones who walked away from the gauntlet match for Kofi.
You're right.
I mean, if anybody understands respect on a higher level than competition, it's the Usos. They've proven that.
Mm-hmm.
They walked away from that gauntlet match and just said, "We might not be friends, but I'm not going to get in your way." You know what I mean?
Good point.
So maybe we get to a point where Jay looks at Roman and lays down and says, "Yeah, I could sit here and take a beating for quite some time, or I can accept what we have." You know? I don't know. I feel like the Clash of Champions Roman versus Uso has the potential to be a much bigger match than the throwaway Universal title that a lot of us are thinking it's going to be.
I don't know.
And I'll tell you this much. If Uso wins, everyone loses their mind.
But Uso won't win.
But if he did.
Wait, and another reason why he won't win, there's no fans, so you won't get that reaction. You won't get that instant shocked reaction, so I think it's a waste. Just like I think it's right now, I think that Drew McIntyre needs to lose the belt.
Yes.
He needs to lose the belt. He needs to lose the belt and win it back when there's fans, because he could have had his WrestleMania moment. Him and Braun, they could have had their WrestleMania moment, but I think they got robbed of that because of COVID.
Yeah.
I think that
I could see that.
Lose the belt and then chase for it again and win it.
I think that right now the confusion is, when do we get fans back, and no one really knows. So I think it's a weird spot we're in as fans, where we have to let go of the "well, when fans are back" mentality, and accept this is what we have as long as we have it. But at the same time, there's this desire, because we've been fans for so long, this desire and this need to see the fans blow up. And I agree. I was at Royal Rumble 2019. I remember vividly the feeling I got the moment Becky Lynch won the Rumble. And I remember screaming and jumping. And I remember getting teary-eyed. And I remember my heart racing. And if you watch the Royal Rumble back on replay on the WWE Network, I'm second row. You can literally watch me take deep breaths during the AJ Styles Dana Bryan match, because I'm trying to bring my heart rate down, because the whole arena exploded and the amount of energy that was in that arena was outrageous. So I get it. That's what we all want back. But there's a certain point where it's like, are we hurting ourselves by just saying we're going to wait until then?
I don't know. Maybe the world will become a different place when we go to bed and wake up tomorrow.
I do like Roman and Heyman together. I do think in a nice. I do agree with you. I think Roman's going to win, but I do think if Jey Uso wins, we pop. I think we all scream at the TV and jump, and I think there's something to be said for that. Outside of that. Let's see. I felt like there was one other thing before this last thing I had, but I do have Retribution last on my list as far as like tops go. They spoke. They finally gave some sort of a mission statement, which wasn't ultimately super specific, but it's something. And I felt like the one thing Retribution has needed for the past 3 weeks is any direction at all.
Right.
And I feel like this is one step in the idea of we're moving somewhere. So I felt like it was a total positive. It was a good way to go. It still leaves us asking questions, but we're somewhere that we weren't even 4 weeks ago.
You know what I would have made Retribution a lot better? If they never talked about them on television. If it was just
What?
if WWE, the announcers and the wrestlers never talked about them on television. If they had said, "Hey, we're not allowed to," because there's banned words in the WWE. Hey, we're not allowed to. Why don't you talk about Retribution? Hey, we're just going to address this one time. We're not allowed to mention that group on this television because we don't know who they are. They're renegades, and we do not support that lifestyle. Yada 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 blah blah. Maybe not be cowards, and then maybe they need to speak up for themselves and not hide underneath the masks. And then maybe at the end of the show they come get that person. And then maybe the 1 week where they break into the production place is where we get the video, because it just always seemed like camera people were always around. Obviously, hold on, I'll keep going. So maybe if they took this video, broke into the production truck and said, "Play this now," and they played the video, and they would have played the video that we saw last night. But how did these people just get a video played on WWE TV? How?
Yeah, 100%. It's been a lot of like weird, confusing sort of
like it needs to feel really grassroots in my opinion, when you see Retribution. It needs to be very grassroots. It needs to feel like, okay, well, who are these people? Do they really work for the WWE? Do they not work for the WWE? Like, we need to be asking ourselves a lot of questions with this, and I don't think that they gave us the opportunity to ask ourselves a lot of questions because of the way that they portrayed the product. Now, like, I would even talk about portraying the product a different way, going back to Raw Underground. I think that the way they should portray Raw Underground, it should be a bunch of people on their phones. It should be recorded on cell phones. It shouldn't be recorded on WWE camera. If it's underground, to me, I see something that's grainy, not this polished product. It should be on people's cell phones. Maybe somehow they tap into these people's cell phones and people are like recording it live as it's happening and they're switching cameras, something. But I don't think it should be this polished product, because at the end of the day, we still technically don't know what Raw Underground is. I like Raw Underground, but what is Raw Underground? Why are they fighting there? We don't know.
I love Raw Underground. And this is what I think it is. And I could be wrong because, like you said, they haven't really outright said a mission statement. The reason I think a Dolph Ziggler can thrive in an underground but maybe lose in the ring is here is a no. I think that, as silly as it sounds, the no ropes things being like, oh, there's no rules, so there's no ropes. I think that it's goofy, but there's a sense to it. Here's just a square area where you are allowed to fight with no rules. And WWE matches have a lot of rules. There's wrestling involved with specific parameters. So to say someone might be lacking in the ring, but might still be a badass motherfucker you don't want to fight, I think is what Raw Underground produces. Hey, here's a dude who you've seen lose a lot, but we don't want you to forget that they're an actual threat at any given moment. And I felt like that the Kevin Owens and Aleister Black series of fights, it felt like 3 or 4 fights by the end of it. And it was only 30 minutes of the Underground we saw. Probably less. It felt so legit. Like, Kevin Owens came across as a fucking drunk Canadian in a bar who has had enough of your shit. And Aleister Black looked 100% like a pompous, I train MMA. I train MMA twice a week. I'm good at MMA. And didn't know how to handle a dude who says, I don't care what you've trained, I'm going to punch your face in. Like, those were 2 distinctive styles we saw in there. And I don't remember seeing anything like that since UFC first year, when they didn't have rules. And it was literally like, here's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus bar fighting. And here's, I don't know, black belt karate versus some other specific martial art.
Right.
watching the two of them fight, Kevin Owens looked like a dude who was just a Canadian who's willing to beat the shit out of you and get punched the whole way through. And Aleister Black looked 100% like, I overtrained for this and I don't know what a fight actually looks like.
Okay. But maybe if we understood what Raw Underground was a little bit more, maybe we'd be able to understand exactly what went on. But when do we find out what happens? Is Raw Underground officially affiliated with Retribution? Maybe everybody in Raw Underground is Retribution. I don't know. More at 10.
Or are we looking for like a payoff out of Raw Underground? Because I've always felt like, I mean, always, obviously it's been around for such a short period of time. I felt like it's just a matter of here's where we can provide the legitimacy to people who otherwise look like lower card. Are we looking for a mission statement out of Raw Underground?
So if that's the case, then why don't they take main event and then put those wrestlers on there and make them into main eventers? Like for me, anything that happens, right? But anything that happens, but then why would they need Raw Underground? What they should be doing with Raw Underground is that let me phrase this: anything that's happening on the television for WWE, for pro wrestling, needs to have a payoff. You can't just tell, oh well, Hansel and Gretel threw breadcrumbs. Okay, cool. So what's the payoff with the breadcrumbs? If you never get the payoff with the breadcrumbs, why did they throw breadcrumbs? Why did they waste food? They're starving kids in third world countries that need to be fed. They're starving kids here in the United States, but these kids are wasting bread.
Yeah, I guess my feeling for anyone who goes to the underground, it's people who are hungry for more than they're getting right now on the roster. Mm-hmm. People who want to fight to get where they're going, and not just like you'll never see Drew McIntyre in the Raw Underground. He's got no business there. Nope, I'm a top level professional wrestler and I wrestle for championships. Where Kevin Owens is a fight prize fighter. Oh, is there $100 I can get out of this? I'll beat the shit out of you for $100.
Or maybe Raw Underground is a recruitment place for Retribution.
Ooh, that'd be sweet to make that connection. I mean, they were around the same time, so making the connection wouldn't be outrageous.
Exactly. You don't know.
Yeah. I'm on board for that. I'm 100% behind that. I think making Raw Underground attached to Retribution would be a net positive. I also think, if you haven't noticed, Brandy Lauren was in Raw Underground, and it looks like she got signed to NXT, and Lindsay Snow has recently showed up in Raw Underground as a background player. So I'm hoping that we see Lindsay Snow in WWE sooner than later. Have you seen her perform before?
No, but I'm looking at her now. She's like a professional wrestler and a Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitor. So, she's used to like throwing other female and males if they decide to act inappropriately. She's used to throwing them around. So,
yep. Lindsay Snow. I saw her on NWA when I was out there watching, and she was a tremendous talent. So if she gets signed on to NXT, I'm here for it. I mean, I don't know that there's an argument to be made that there's any women's division stronger in the world than NXT women's division.
No, right now, no.
I don't know that anybody would even try to counter that. So if you added someone like a Lindsay Snow into there, I think that you're only going to solidify that more and more. I don't know that I had anything else really about tops and bottoms. Was there anything else more particularly exciting or good that you thought we should talk about we didn't touch ground on, or anything that you thought was overwhelmingly bad that you didn't want to go unnoticed?
No, I think I pretty much covered everything when it comes into, hey, this is what triggered me this week, and this is what made me go, oh, this week. Triggered in some of the segment.
100%. When it comes down to it, we all watch wrestling because we want to get triggered. We want to forget that we're watching play fight. When you highlight the play fight, it brings me away from enjoyment and closer to I feel silly. Where at the end of the day, a lot of these storylines and a lot of the stuff, the action that we see, is easy to forget what you're watching and get involved in, and then you find yourself jumping up off the couch and screaming at a TV, which is goofy but awesome. And that's exactly what I think we're here for. Producer said she had something she wanted to touch ground on real quick.
Kind of a bottom. Billy Kay and
Yeah, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce split up. They came out with their own individual entrances and had a match. What'd you think of that?
Was actually going to be excited for it because I think there's just a lot of potential for this storyline. I was just interested in singles runs.
Yeah,
like,
for a team that's been
let's see
together
more
as
women.
many years as they've been together to be split up and facing against each other, there was a lot of room there for really exciting new like, I mean, we just talked about a minute ago about how amazing Kevin Owens and Sammy was. This could be the women's version of that, and maybe we didn't get exactly that. Were you best say, producer?
And on last week's Raw Underground, it looked like when Billie was thrown in, her what's her name? I'm blanking on. Peyton Royce was laughing when she was thrown in, or no, when she got beat. She kind of just turned to the side and did like a little laugh. So I was like, oh, okay, so she's like super heel now. Yeah. And then then we see this week, and I was just a little disappointed. Also disappointed at the character development too.
I'll tell you exactly. So on Monday night they decided, on Monday afternoon they decided that last week that's what they were going to do, and then the sun came up on Tuesday morning and they changed their minds. That's it.
What do you mean? Oh, by them having the hug?
Yeah, they just changed their minds and said, hey, you know what? Next week we're not going to do this. We're going to make them hug each other. We're not going to tell any story. Maybe we can use the new wild card court transaction trade and probably send one to SmackDown and keep one on Raw. Why not?
That hug ruined the whole segment to me. Did it ruin it to you too?
I didn't understand why it was going on, so I just said, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to go pour myself a bowl of cereal.
Ooh, a big old bowl of cereal with zero milk.
A medium-sized bowl of cereal. Actually, I bought milk yesterday. I learned my lesson.
All right. Well, you got to learn. You got to grow.
That's right.
I felt like that hug ruined the whole segment because I felt like there was a very real possibility of having Peyton Royce go out there, win against Billie Kay, start to hug her, and then go full on fucking wrestling. We know what we're here for. We are in a combat business. How did Becky Lynch say it? We are in a... I don't know how Becky Lynch says it. She says everything better than me. What am I going to do? But we are in an aggressive business. We are in a fight business. We are in altercation for a business. If Peyton Royce took down Billie Kay and said, you were nothing but dead weight to me.
Conflict is our business.
Conflict is our business. Becky Lynch, master amongst words. Yes, we are in a conflict business. If Peyton Royce knocked down Billie Kay and said, you've been dead weight for over 10 years, and I won us the tag titles only for you to lose them, then I'd have been like, oh, shit, we've got some fucking heat here. But to have them hug at the end, you're like, okay, I guess we start over tomorrow?
Yeah, that's it. We're just going to be friends.
Yeah.
I'm not into the stripper entrance. I'm sorry. That was too much.
Peyton's entrance got to change. So I really like when Peyton lays on the middle rope and does that kind of like leg thing. You're like, oh, that's kind of sultry, whatever. Mixed in with all the stuff before that, I was like, this feels really strippery at this point. And I'm not as into that as much.
She wasn't wearing the heels, but she was walking as if she's in the stripper heels. I was like, all right, honey, you did this like, I don't know, Superwoman kind of entrance where you crouched down, but then you got up, and I wish that's what it wasn't. I wish it was something different.
Yeah.
Because she has so much more, I think, to offer.
Yeah, I think Peyton could be amazing as a singles. I even asked as she's walking in the ring, I was like, why is she walking a little bit weird? And producer goes, she's walking like she's in heels, but she's not. And I was like, really? And as I watched, I was like, oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, like I don't want you just to be a pretty face. Like, we've already been through that, and she can actually go in the ring. Like, let's see her go.
Yeah, I've been impressed by Peyton lately. What do you think about the Iconic split in general?
In general, I think, man, I'm telling you, the Iconics were funny. I think the Iconics could have been somebody that can actually get their own podcast. Shout out to Alexa Bliss getting her own podcast, which will be premiering soon. WWE podcast, wherever you find it. But like, they can have their own podcast. They can have their own show, just like the R-Truth show. on the WB network. Those girls are funny together. They're iconic, and I like them together. They were funny. They were the heels that you would never take seriously. I mean, if they want to get themselves some extra clout, maybe drop that comedy gimmick and put a little bit more physicality behind their wrestling. I did feel that the ladies did become better behind their wrestling as well too.
Yeah.
But how do I feel about it? All in all, I feel that I don't like that they're splitting, and I am interested to see what's next from here.
Absolutely. I felt like it was such a big move, like a split, that after that match, they had a possible moment of making this a big deal, and I felt like they undermined it, which was really annoying. But because I felt like if they didn't just a little bit further, I'd have been like, oh shit, not only do they split, but like there's craziness going on. Now it's all like, oh, they look like they were forced to split, but they don't want to be split. Mm-hmm. So now it just feels weird. So I agree.
Which I think kind of works for Riot Squad. I mean, they're clearly back together, and I think Liv is just really excelling in the ring.
Yeah, I really want Riot Squad to take the titles off Shania. They call themselves online. Shayna and Nia.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's rough. That's the internet world for you, man.
That's why they're getting rid of Cameo, because they're making up these weird names.
Yeah, this is what you did. I think that Riot Squad's awesome, so I'm actually really excited. I really want them to hold the titles for a really long time, but I don't know where we're going from here with the tag titles, but I'm cool with it. To see at least it being in storyline outside of the Boston Hug connection, as it were, because most of the time that they didn't have it, people weren't really paying attention.
And really cool with that, how that ended with Asuka, Shayna and Asuka. Okay, never mind.
I don't know what you're talking about.
How that match ended?
Okay. That was Mickey, but...
Is it? Ah, crap. Yeah, I'm getting mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah, Mickey's not part of the Riot Squad, but that'd be cool.
No, I know that.
All right.
I was thinking of Asuka for a sec, and I was thinking where I saw her in the card.
Yeah. Did you have anything else to say about Riot Squad and Shia and Nia?
No, nothing. I'm all tied up and squared away.
All right. We're big fans of the Riot Squad here in this house, so you better be on board. Did you have anything else to say, producer? Anything else you want to throw out there? Yeah, I'm glad you put that out there. I'm really excited about Asuka and Mickey this coming up week on Monday Night Raw. I really want Mickey to have one more title run, even if she takes it off Asuka, which I know people don't want to see. But I think that it could solidify Mickey in that legendary category that so many of us already put her in, that I'd be really excited to see her go ahead and hold that title one more time before she does whatever it is she decides to do with the rest of her days. Although I'll never complain about having Mickie James on the TV. So if she wants to wrestle forever, I say fight forever.
Hey, I'm down with that. I'd buy her cameo.
Yeah, we should see if she's got a cameo. That'd be fun. We got to meet her briefly when we were at Royal Rumble. We did a backstage at Raw, and she came by, and they asked, oh, hey, do you have time? As she's walking by, they're like, do you have time to take some pictures? She goes, I really got to get to makeup. And she says, and she turned over and gave a couple of us a hug and said hi and thank you for coming out and all this stuff. And it was really cool. And so I was one of the people who got to like hug her and say hi. And then we were at the bar because we were staying in the same hotels, a lot of talent we found out. And we just went to the bar, just like, let's just watch wrestlers. Let's just sit here and just eat and watch people. And she came down and the music's playing. She's all fucking dancing. And she sees us and she sees me in like a Royal Rumble hat. And she makes eye contact and she points and she's like, hey. And I was like, she's nicer than she needs to be. So, not a negative thing in the world to say about Mickie James for me.
That's good then.
Is there anything else you want to make sure you touch ground on, Tristen? Anything happened this week that you thought, hey, people ought to talk about this?
You guys already go over Mysterios? Because they were pretty awesome.
The Mysterio family was very nice. Beating the shit out of Freddie Murphy with sticks was nice.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, when you mess around with a Hispanic mama, she gonna get the whole family. And I've seen this firsthand in the Bronx. Let me tell you, there's plenty of times that we go to fight. Me and my guys go to fight, and the mom be there, the brother be there, the grandmother be there in the wheelchair. Like, it's a fight. Like, let me just stand back and just let y'all do y'all thing. Just let me know if y'all need me. Yeah.
Was it a bit weird? I was expecting Mama Mysterio to throw the kendo stick down and take her chancla off and just beat him with a chancla.
Let me tell you, if she was going to beat him chancla, he'd start crying right then and there.
Yeah, fucking forget. He'd have given up like 6 minutes earlier.
That's it. You see, we would have had to go off the air with Raw with maybe like, Seth Rollins coming out to give him a hug, like, it's okay, I understand.
Yeah, he's like, you're not with me anymore, but by God,
right.
Just petting his head.
Zelina Vega could come out about, pero when you make mommy mad, mommy brings chancleta. Yo no sé.
Pero. Mm-mm. Yeah, 100%. If there's nothing else you wanted to hit, anything on you, producer? Tristen, go ahead and give us your info one more time. Guys, this has been Tristen Law from the Tristen Law Show, coming through to have a drink with us here at Wrestling on the Rocks for episode 1, because every show is our first show, because we can't figure this shit out. Tristen, where can we find you?
You can find me at The Real Big Trist on Instagram or Twitter, or you can actually check out the Tristen Law Show at tristanlawshow.com or wherever you find a podcast. New episodes drop Wednesday, and depending on where you live, it's a Wednesday now. But if not, it'll be up by the sun. Don't worry, you'll be able to listen. I introduce people to the personalities be inside and out of the professional wrestling ring, and I think it's pretty cool. Check it out.
I think so too. And I thank you guys for coming through, checking us out. If you check us out on podcast, please give us the rate and the review. Also, check out Tristen Law Show. You can find us at WrestlingOnTheRocks.com for all of our links. We got a Twitter, we got a Twitch, we got a Instagram. We got them all. And someone today just won a 25 out of 25 final print of an NXT Rob Schamberger print. Follow us on Twitter for the next one. Guys, I think that's last call. Any contestant?
Let me empty my gallon of vodka.
Yep. Tristen, when you hear the music, stay on for me for just a minute. We're going to hit last call. Guys, cheers.
Salud.